The Senate and the second regular session of the 18th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Francis Pangilinan will lead the chamber in prayer.
We begin our prayer with an excerpt from the homily of Pope Francis in his Sunday Mass yesterday at the St. Peter's Basilica. Dear brothers and sisters, 500 years have passed since the Christian message first arrived in the Philippines. You received the joy of the gospel, the good news that God so loved us that he gave his Son for us, and this joy is evident in your people. We see it in your eyes, on your faces, in your songs, and in your prayers, in the joy which you bring your faith to other lands. Sometimes we look for joy where it is not to be found, in illusions that vanish, in dreams of glory, in the apparent security of material possessions, in the cult of our image, and so many other things. But life teaches us that joy, true joy, comes from realizing that we are loved gratuitously, knowing that we are not alone, having someone who shares our dreams and who, when we experience shipwreck, is there to help us and lead us to a safe harbor. On the quincentennial of Christianity in our country, let us pray. Father Almighty, we thank you for the gifts of faith and hope. Throughout our most testing times as a people, your cross has been our source of strength. Your love is the reason Filipinos can bear with smile and song the heaviest burdens. Because of this gift, our people, we have become witnesses not only to the joy of prayer, but to the certainty of miracles. Today is also the first year of the pandemic lockdown. 1 year ago today, isang umaga, gumising tayo sa kakaibang katahimikan. Dinig ang mga yapak habang papalayo sa isa't isa. Dinig ang mga pintig ng puso na ang tinitibok ay pangamba. Dinig ang mga bulong na ang sinisigaw ay pagdamay. Dinig ang paghikbi sa pagluha sa mga nawala. Dinig ang mga panalangin na ang inilalambing ay pag-asa. Isang umaga, gigising ulit tayo sa katahimikan. Payapang namumuhay, nagmamahal at nangangarap. Isang umaga sa awa ng Diyos, gigising din tayo ulit sa magandang bukas. Father, today and until the virus is vanquished, we pray for your healing hand. We also ask humbly for your guidance for us who serve in the Senate and in government. Protect our people, protect our nation. This we ask in the mighty name of Jesus, our Savior. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiging ganas ng silanganan, alam na puso, sa ganti mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tulad ka ng mag-ibig, sa manlulutin, di ka masisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong buka, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang istak ng walang at mo'y tagumpay na nagtigilig, ang bituin ng araw niyang kailan pa may di magdidilig. Lupa ng araw na lumalang yung pagsinta, tulad namin sa tiling mo. Ang ligaya dapat may malapit, ang mamatay na dahil sa'yo.
The Secretary will please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara,
Present.
Binay,
Present.
Cayetano,
Present.
De Lima, De La Rosa, Drilon,
Present.
Gatchalian, Go,
Present.
Gordon,
Go. Present.
Ontiveros,
Present.
Lacson,
Present.
Lapid, Marcos,
Present.
Pacquiao,
Present.
Pangilinan,
Present.
Pimentel III,
Present.
Poe,
Present.
Recto,
Present.
Revilla Jr.,
Present.
Tolentino,
Present.
Villanueva, Villar,
Present.
Zubiri.
Present.
Senate President Soto III is present.
With 4 senators physically present and 19 senators virtually present for a total of 23, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader,
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 57th session, Wednesday, March 10, 2021, and consider the same as approved. So moved, Mr. President.
any objection? Chair hears none. The journal is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed to with the reference of business.
The Secretary will proceed with the reference of business.
Reference of business, bills on first reading, Senate number 2098, an act strengthening the National Housing Authority, extending its corporate term and amending for this purpose Presidential Decree number 757, creating the National Housing Authority and dissolving the existing housing agencies, defining its powers and functions, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Marcos.
Referred to the committees on urban planning, government corporations, and ways and means.
Senate number 2099, an act regulating the manufacture, importation, sale, distribution, use, advertisement, promotion, and sponsorship of electronic nicotine delivery systems and electronic non-nicotine delivery systems, heated tobacco products, and other imitation tobacco products, introduced by Senator Cayetano.
Referred to the committees on trade and health.
Resolutions, PS Resolution number 677, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, and other appropriate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the rising cost of construction materials in relation to the recent issuances of the Department of Trade and Industry, providing for the mandatory product certification of basic construction materials and its detrimental impact on the housing industry, introduced by Senator Tolentino.
To the committees on urban planning and trade.
PS Resolution number 678, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the continued accumulation and proper disposal of plastic waste, including personal protective equipment during the COVID-19 pandemic, introduced by Senator Marcos.
Referred to the committees on environment and health.
PS Resolution number 679, resolution urging the Department of Social Welfare and Development to implement a quarterly release of the social pension of senior citizens instead of the current schedule of every 6 months, introduced by Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committee on Social Justice.
PS Resolution number 680, resolution expressing the sense of the Senate to urge the Department of Transportation to suspend the implementation of the Omnibus Franchising Guidelines and Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program for the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic, introduced by Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committee on Rules.
Communication letter from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas transmitting to the Senate a certified copy of circular letter number CL 2021-19 dated 4th March 2021 in compliance with Section 15A of the Public Act number 6753, the new Central Bank Act.
To the Committee on Banks.
Committee reports, Committee Report number 193, submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Works and Finance on House number 5855, introduced by Representative Zamora et al., entitled An Act Establishing the Second District Engineering Office in the Municipality of Compostela, Province of Davao de Oro, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report number 194, submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Works and Finance and House number 5889, introduced by Representative Dimaporo et al., entitled An Act Providing for the Construction of a National Highway from Lanao del Norte Interior Circumferential Road in the Municipality of Tagaloan, Province of Lanao del Norte, to the Municipality of Talaga, Province of Bukidnon, with a crossroad at Barangay Malimbato, Municipality of Tagolaon, Province of Lanao del Norte, and connecting roads to the National Highway in Iligan City through Barangay Pugaan, Iligan City, and to the National Highway in Marawi City through the Municipality of Kapay, Province of Lanao del Sur, to be known as the Muslim Christian Unity Highway, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 195, submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Works and Finance, and House Number 5890, introduced by Representative Xiao et al., entitled An Act Creating the Illegal City District Engineering Office and Appropriating Funds Therefore, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
The calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 196, submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Works and Finance, and House Number 5891, introduced by Representative Dimapor et al., entitled An Act Reconstituting the Lanao del Norte District Engineering Office in the province of Lanao del Norte into two separate district engineering offices and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
The calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 197, submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Works and Finance, and House Number 6227, introduced by Representative Amatong et al., entitled An Act Creating a New District Engineering Office in the 3rd Legislative District of the Province of Zamboanga del Norte and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 198, submitted by the Committee on Public Works on House Number 6467, introduced by Representatives Mangawang and Madrona, entitled An Act Renaming the portion of the Mountain Province boundary Kalanan and Really Road, stretching from the Antonio Canao Bridge in Barangay Kalanan, traversing through barangays Bulanao and Ipil, up to the Alyog Bridge in Barangay Nambaran, all in the city of Tabuk in the province of Kalinga as Manuel S. Agyao Boulevard, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 199, submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Works and Finance, and House Number 6491, introduced by Representative Go et al., entitled An Act Mandating the Full Rehabilitation and Maintenance of Cannon Road under the Department of Public Works and Highways, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 200, submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Works and Finance, and House Number 6492, introduced by Representative Dalog et al., entitled An Act Converting the Sagada Besao Quirino Ilocos Sur Road into a national road and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
The calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 201, submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Works and Finance, and House Number 6585, introduced by Representative Ortega et al., entitled An Act Classifying the San Fernando Bypass Road and San Fernando Bypass Extension Road in the province of La Union into a national roads and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 202, submitted by the Committee on Public Works and House Number 7355, introduced by Representative Adyong et al., entitled An Act Renaming the Marawi Maging Bumabaran Wao Road, stretching from the city of Marawi, traversing through the municipalities of Maging, Bumbaran, and Wao, all in the province of Lanao del Sur, as Governor Mamintal M. Adyong Senior National Road, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
The calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report Number 203, submitted by the Committee on Public Works on House Number 7499, introduced by Representative Castella et al., entitled An Act Renaming Del Monte Avenue, traversing barangays Nayong, Kanluran, Paltok, Paraiso, Del Monte, Damayan, Masambong, Talayan, Manresa, Siena, St. Peter, San Jose, and NS Amoranto, located in Legislative District 1 of Quezon City as Fernando Poe Jr. Avenue, recommending its approval without amendment, taking into consideration Senate Number 1822, sponsor Senator Pacquiao.
To the calendar for ordinary business. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have third reading measures today to take up. I move that we approve on third reading House Bill number 8631. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion's approved. Secretary will read the title of the measure and conduct a roll call vote.
House Bill number 8631, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Bienvenido Morejon Marañon. All of members, the Honorable Senators Angara, Binay,
Mr. President, may we ask them to mute everyone? I believe they're still on mute. They cannot.
EDP
Unmute
can
themselves.
unmute, please. Please unmute everybody.
Okay.
Maybe we can start again, Mr. President, with apologies.
roll call vote, the Honorable Senators Angara,
Yes.
Binay,
Yes.
Cayetano,
Yes.
De Lima, De La Rosa,
Yes.
Pilon,
Yes. Yes.
Gatchalian. Go.
Yes, yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Ontiveros.
C. Aye.
Lacson.
Yes.
Lapid. Marcos.
Yes.
Pacquiao.
Yes.
Pangilinan.
Yes.
Pimentel III.
Yes, yes.
Poe.
Yes.
Recto.
Yes.
Revilla Jr.
Yes.
Tolentino.
Yes.
Villanueva. Villar.
Yes.
Zubiri.
Si, señorita. Yes,
Senate
Ibig
President
sabihin.
Soto III.
Yes. With 23 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention, House Bill 8631 is approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we approve as well on third reading House Bill number 8632. I so move.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Secretary will read the title of the measure and conduct a roll call vote.
House Bill number 8632, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Kaku Ange Frank Williams Kwame. Roll call vote, the Honorable Senators. Angara.
Oui, oui. Yes.
Binay.
Yes.
Cayetano.
Yes.
De Lima. De La Rosa.
Yes,
Drilon.
yes,
Yes.
Yes. Gatchalian. Go.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Ontiveros.
Aye.
Lacson.
Yes.
Lacson.
Yes.
Lapid. Marcos.
Yes.
Pac
Marcos. Marcos. Wala.
Ayun, no? Yes, daw.
Yao.
Yes, yes.
Pangilinan.
Sama na sama.
Pimentel III.
Yes.
Poe.
Yes.
Recto.
Yes.
Revilla Jr.
Yes na yes.
Tolentino.
Tolentino.
Villanueva. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Villar.
Yes.
Zubiri.
Oui, mademoiselle. Yes.
President Soto III.
Yes.
Ang hirap nitong sound
Votes.
natin.
No negative votes, no abstention. House Bill 8632 is approved on third reading.
Mr. President, just a manifestation.
Majority Leader is recognized, Senator Franklin.
Yes, just a manifestation that I received a printed copy of the measures which were approved on third reading today, 3 days ago, or more than 3 days ago, in compliance with the constitutional requirement. And may I suggest that the record reflect that all the senators received printed copies of the same more than 3 days ago in compliance with constitutional requirement. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Former Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr.
former Senate
President.
President.
He just did my job for me. My apologies. I was about to announce that as well, Mr. President. But naunahan po ako ng minority leader.
That's why I
Yes.
reminded everybody he's a former
Yes.
Majority Leader.
All copies were distributed, Mr. President, March 10 pa, 2021. Thank you, Mr.
All right,
President.
all right. For the record,
For the record.
All right, Majority
Again,
Leader.
thank you to our minority leader. Mr. President, we have two bicameral conference committee reports for ratification. Congratulations to these two very hardworking gentlemen. We'll start off on the Bicameral Conference Committee where receipt, Mr. President, of the report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1513 and House Bill number 4466. This is the Labor Education Act, Mr. President. I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Senate panel, Senator Joel Villanueva, to give the highlights of the BICAM report, Mr. President.
Senator, this is a bicameral conference committee report. Before I
That is
recognize
correct, Mr.
Senator Villanueva, I'm just very curious of how Senator Francis Tolentino feels, chairman of the Committee on Local Government, after I heard that the plebiscite, the bill we passed on Palawan was defeated. Senator Tolentino. Senator Angara ba, ano nun? Last Congress pa yun? I see.
I cannot admit it. Yes, Mr. President, I heard about that. Lots of explanations, probably lack of proper information campaign due to the COVID. But then again, we have to respect the decision of the people of Palawan, rejecting the division of the province into Palawan del Norte, Palawan del Sur, and Palawan Oriental.
Yeah, apparently the people did not agree with Congress. Anyway, Senator Joy Villanueva, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Majority Floor Leader. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the Senate panel to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1513 and House Bill number 4466, or the Labor Education Bill, I have the honor to report to this August chamber the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the reconciled measure. But first of all, let me say that we are truly grateful to our counterparts in the House of Representatives, led by Congressman Mark Go, for making the Senate version its working draft and adopting most of the Senate provisions in the reconciled bill. Allow me also to thank our leadership, our dear colleagues here, headed by our very hardworking Senate President Soto, Majority Leader Zubiri, Minority Leader Frank Drilon, and all our colleagues who co-authored this measure, especially Senator Lapid, Senator Revilla, and Senator Binay. Mr. President, instead of reading the joint explanation of this bicameral report, allow me to just present the highlights of the reconciled bill as endorsed by the Bicameral Conference Committee, and the joint explanation be inserted and considered read into the record of today's plenary. First, the bill recognizes the policy of the state to put in place a mechanism to educate future workers, future employers, and future entrepreneurs on their rights and responsibilities in promoting harmony in the workplace and social progress in the society. Second, the bill defines labor education as the teaching of basic knowledge on labor rights and other skills relating to negotiation, fostering smooth interpersonal relations in the workplace, and mechanisms for redress of grievances and other concerns. Third, it provides for the integration of labor education in tertiary education curriculum. For higher education, Mr. President, all public and private higher education institutions shall integrate labor education as part of an elective course. They are also encouraged to hold a labor empowerment and career guidance conference, which shall be attended by graduating students. For the TVET sector, the bill encourages the integration of labor education in short-term courses, whose duration is between 1 month to 1 year, while mandating the integration of labor education as an elective course for non-degree certificate and diploma courses ranging from 1 to 3 years. For the record, Mr. President, the BICAM bill integrates labor education not just in the basic competencies in TESDA's training regulations. The inclusion of non-degree diploma and certificate courses will make explicit the integration of labor integration in bundled TVET qualifications, such as the 2-year automotive technology course, which consists of automotive servicing NC1, NC2, NC3, and the 2-year culinary and food management services, which consists of bread and pastry production NC2, cookery NC2, and food and beverage services NC2 and 3, and commercial cooking NC3. Our bill empowers CHED to develop the program that will be included in the policy standards and guidelines adopted and promulgated by the Commission. Similar to the powers given to CHED, the bill also mandates TESDA in partnership with DOLE to develop the appropriate modules of instructions and materials relating to labor education. This can be easily done, Mr. President, since the DOLE Secretary serves as the chairperson of the TESDA board. With the aforesaid, Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1513 and House Bill number 4466 or the Labor Education Bill. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at pagpalain tayong lahat ng ating Panginoong Diyos.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My apologies to our members who are raising their hand. Pag nag-screen share kasi, I cannot see anybody. There are only like 4 people on the screen. Apparently, Senator Angara, Mr. President, Senator Gordon were raising their hand before Senator Joel. Can we just vote on this measure, Mr. President? And
Yes,
then I'll recognize the
yeah.
gentleman.
All right, let's do that.
I move, Mr. President, that we approve and ratify the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1513 and House Bill number 4466. And let the text of the joint explanation be inserted to the records of this chamber, Mr. President. So
All right. Any objection? There being none, the Bicameral Conference Committee report is hereby ratified. All right, Majority Leader, who were raising?
Senator Gordon, Mr. President, and I asked later if Senator Angara would still like to be recognized.
All right, Senator Richard Gordon is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Majority Floor Leader. Just a manifestation that we should tarry a little and really put in more mental gymnastics in approving the creation of more provinces and more districts, Mr. President. What happened in Palawan, although disturbing because it's a long province, the stretch of which compares with Luzon, like Quezon. At times, Mr. President, when we do so, we must remember that we are slicing the pie that will go to the provinces, and sometimes it will go, if they're sparsely populated, it will be unfair to the heavily populated provinces. I'm not against creating more provinces or districts for that matter. It's just that we should really debate this, because if it is approved, it was heard. I'm just surprised why the people did not like it. Perhaps there were other reasons, such as accusations that could be unfair, or for that matter, there was even talk of that China has already acquired a piece of property there that would be a mini base for them. Although that is social media talk, which is, I know, all noise, but nonetheless, the manifestation is being done if only to allow us to have tarry a little more before we approve all this. I know that this is a collegiate body. We all vote on it, but as far as I'm concerned, I would certainly think 3 times before we approve provinces and districts. I know it's a political thing to do sometimes, but sometimes the challenge of statesmanship and practicality must be observed. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I hope I did not hurt anybody. Thank you.
No, there were manifestation made by Senator Sani Angara through a text message. So, Senator Angara, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was raising my hand earlier when you were asking for a response from our local government committee chair, Senator Francis. But yes, I was going to say, I was the chair when we passed that. And in fact, it was a very hotly debated measure. But it at the time, it did seem to make sense because of, I think, governability was the main issue, given that Palawan is 4 times the size of Cebu in terms of land area, no? So, but be that as it may, we must respect the will of the sovereign people. And in fact, that's my main point in asking for the floor, Mr. President. That's why I think the drafters of our constitution, in their wisdom, recognize that these issues of division or seceding of a province or creation of a new province or a new district are such hotly debated issues that they are submitted. Aside from the votes of the delegates of the people, namely members of Congress, there is a second vote taken, and that is that of the people themselves. And I was surprised, I'd like to say, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were no negative votes on that bill in the chamber. I could be wrong, no? Well, Senator Risa might have been one of those. I see her raising her hand. But I remember there were also members on both sides of the aisle, Mr. President, who voted for that measure. But at the bottom line, again, is the people have spoken, and we must respect and honor that exercise of the will by the people. Mr. President, while I have the floor, may I also ask for the leadership, Senate leadership, by the presiding officer and perhaps our majority and minority leaders, just a procedural issue. I think when we, like in certain moments, I think because we have a new system for our computer, I think there are times when we raise our hands, but we are not seen by the presiding officer. I noticed this during the period of amendments in past bills. We were trying to raise our hand to be able to amend in a timely manner because, as you know, we go chronologically through a bill, and if we do not raise it in a timely manner, in a way it is waived, no? Although sometimes we go back. But just a small matter to bring to attention, and we trust in the judgment of the leadership, Mr. President. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. We will look into that, the possibility of solving that, because the problem is when there is a share screen. When Senator Villanueva was about to speak, there was a share screen already of his presentation, and we could not see all of you. It was the share screen that was on the computer. Anyway, going back to the issue, also, yes, the framers of the Constitution, in fact, including the creation of cities. And do not fret, I have lost 3 cities in the 9th Congress. I sponsored the cityhood of Santiago Isabela. We lost in the plebiscite. I also sponsored the cityhood of Ilagan, Isabela, and lost in the plebiscite. The church was against the cityhood. They were thinking that ibang magiging resulta pag naging city yung mga yon. But nevertheless, in the years to come, napasa na rin after 2 or 3 congresses. No? And then the other one is in Novaliches. I sponsored the cityhood of Novaliches, separate from Quezon City and Caloocan, to become a city of its own, because it's bigger than Malabon, Navotas, it's bigger than San Juan, and it has to be a city on its own. But the problem is, in the framers of the Constitution placed the fact that when you vote for a plebiscite, all the affected areas need to vote. So when we were voting for the Novaliches cityhood, it won in Novaliches, but it lost in the 1st, the 3rd, and the 4th district of Quezon City. Ayaw nila mawala yung Novaliches sa city. So it really happens. Anyway,
Yes,
just
may I add to that?
trivia.
Mr. President, may I add to that? Most recently, yung natalo din for highly urbanized city was in Nueva Ecija. Cabanatuan lost also in the plebiscite. They wanted to be highly urbanized, not voting anymore with the province. And I believe the Supreme Court ruled that the whole province must decide on that kasi mawawalan sila ng IRA. So natalo po yung highly urbanized city bill ng Cabanatuan.
Pero yung bar, Mr. President, nanalo kasi si Majority Leader ang sponsor, yung bar.
May dalang charm yun. May dalang charm.
The minority leader is recognized. Go ahead, Senator Drilon. Sasabay. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I don't think we have to lose sleep over the fact that the people voted against the decision of Congress. This is how it works. This is how the system works. There are only very few instances when direct participation of the people is called upon in the Constitution. One of them is the creation of new local government units, LGUs. And therefore, we submit, this is submitted to the people for ratification, and the framers, even before this Constitution, deemed it wise to have the people directly participate and put their imprimatur on the creation of new local government units. We exercise our best judgment. The people did not agree with us. That's it, Mr. President. That's how the system works. I wouldn't really, as I said, lose sleep. This is part of the system, and we should continue with the system because it's good for our democracy. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. We
Thank you,
concur.
Mr. President.
All right, Majority
Mr.
Leader.
President. Thank you, Mr. President. And just to end the discussion on that, we concur with Senator Franklin Drilon. I recall during the hearings when we asked the compliance in terms of documentation and of course those who sponsored it from Palawan. There were no objections from the provincial board, no objections from the mayors. There were no objections from the congressmen, and they're all in unison on this measure, like many measures that come to us. But eventually, it is the people who will decide.
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Yeah, which reminds me again, I forgot that one. I also sponsored the division of Isabela del Norte and Isabela del Sur. We passed it. Rudy Albano, the old Rudy Albano was the sponsor in the House. I was sponsor in the Senate. We lost the plebiscite. Anyway,
That's it.
continue.
That's the beauty of the plebiscite, Mr. President. Yeah, that's the beauty of the plebiscite. We ask the people directly. So, Mr. President, we have another BICAM report. I'm also one of the principal authors of this, and it has something to do with one of our dear colleagues, Senator Bato de la Rosa, sponsor. Mr. President, we are in receipt of the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1563 and House Bill number 8261. This is the PNP, BFP, BJMP, and Bucor Height Equality Act, Mr. President. With the permission of the body, may we recognize the sponsor, our chairperson of the Senate panel, no other than Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, to sponsor the measure.
Senator Ronald De La Rosa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Mr. President, on behalf of the Senate panel to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1563 and House Bill number 8261, an act lowering the minimum height requirement for applicants of the Philippine National Police, Bureau of Fire Protection, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, and Bureau of Correction, amending Republic Act number 6975 as amended, Republic Act number 9263, and Republic Act number 10575, and for other purposes. I have the honor to report to the body the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the reconciled measure. Instead of reading the joint explanatory statement of the Bicameral Conference Committee report, may I be allowed to present the highlights of the reconciled bill and that the joint explanation be inserted and considered read into the record. I would like to inform the body that the Senate version of the bill was adopted as the working draft. The version agreed upon by the Bicameral Conference Committee remained true to the objective of the bill passed in this chamber. We retained the uniform height requirement for the PNP applicants, including PNPA cadets, as stated in the Senate version of the bill. The PNP supported the Senate version and submitted the written objection on the version of the House of Representatives. The PNP stated that there is no cogent reason for cadets of the PNPA to be treated differently from other uniformed members of the PNP with respect to height requirements, since PNPA graduates perform the same functions and other police commission officers. The reconciled version of the bill also adopted the Senate version on the retention of the automatic waiver for members of the cultural minorities and indigenous people. The National Commission on Indigenous Peoples also put forward that the retention of said waiver is a significant step to address discrimination in the admission or appointment of uniformed personnel. Mr. President, in the eyes of our Creator, we are created equal. However, in the eyes of man, we are measured based on our appearance, capabilities, and talents. In the provisions of the law, we seek the furtherance of equity. This chamber can be a vehicle to limit or prohibit many things. But today, we have chosen to become a key in opening the gates of public service. We welcome those who may be less in height but possess the biggest of hearts for the service of the country. Gaya po ng aking naunang deklarasyon, hindi po natin binababa ang standard na kailangan para makapagsilbi bilang police, firefighter, jail officer at correction officers. Nais po natin mabigyan ng pagkakataon makapagsilbi ang mga hindi nabiyayaan ng katangkaran. Courage, dedication, and willingness to sacrifice one's life for the service of the others cannot be measured by height nor by any physical characteristics given by the unseen hand of our Supreme Being. Once again, thank you for giving equal opportunity for those who have not been gifted the height to be a member of our uniformed personnel. I would like to express my gratitude to the members of the Senate panel for their contributions. Majority Floor Leader Senator Mig Soveri, Senators Amy Marcos, Senator Bongo, Senator Risa Hontiveros, and Senator Tolentino, who at one point in time supported the House panel version that reinvigorated the House panel's push for the adoption of their version, but were properly enlightened and convinced and supported our Senate panel version. Muli, maraming salamat po. Mr. President, I respectfully move that we approve the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of the Senate Bill number 1563 and House Bill number 8261 as submitted.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Yes, I concur with the motion of the good gentleman from Davao del Sur. I move that we approve and ratify the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1563 and House Bill number 8261. Let the text of the joint explanation be inserted to our chamber's records, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any objection? Hearing none, the Bicameral Conference Committee report is hereby ratified with a prayer that the President will not veto it like what the other President did.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, Mr. President, Senator Nancy Binay can now be a police officer. Siya ba? But I think she has a problem with her age limit, Mr. President. Anyway, moving forward, Mr. President, since today is Monday, we'd like, there is a colleague of ours who would like to avail of the privilege hour. May we recognize a distinguished colleague, Senator Risa Hontiveros, Mr. President.
Senator Risa Hontiveros is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Isang magandang hapon po sa ating lahat, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal and collective privilege. Beware the Ides of March. Yan ang pamagat ng sikat na play ni Shakespeare tungkol sa assassination kay Julius Caesar. Mula noong maipalabas ang play na yan sa publiko noong 1500s, babala at pagbabantay ang kakabit ng pagpatak ng araw na ito. Ngunit, bago pa man ang pagkamatay ni Julius Caesar, ang March 15 mismo ay kilala noong panahon ng mga Romano bilang araw ng pagbabayad ng mga utang. Sa makatuwid, alinsunod sa tradisyon, ito'y araw ng paniningil. Yan po ang nais kong gawin sa pagkakataong ito. Simulan natin sa pagre-rewind ng mga pangunahing kaganapan mula 2020. Mag-time travel tayo ng kaunti. Nang pirmahan ni Presidente ang Proclamation number 922 noong Marso na siyang nagde-declare ng State of Public Health Emergency sa bansa, ang mga kaso ng COVID-19 ay 24, 20. Nabibilang pa sa pinakapayak na matematika at kayang-kaya pang habulin kung maayos sana ang programa ng pagtatrack and trace. More than a week later, the President signed Proclamation 929, declaring a state of calamity in the entire country for a period of 6 months. Exactly a year ago today, on this same day, March 15th, 2020, we had 29 new cases, a total of 140 cases, and a death toll of 12. At this rate, Metro Manila was deep into the lockdown. Fast forward to today. Ngayon ay ang first year anniversary ng pagpataw ng enhanced community quarantine sa atin dito sa Luzon. Ngayon, ang mga kaso ng COVID nitong March 13 lamang ay nasa 5,000 kaso. That's the highest single tally in 2021 so far. Even in the age of disinformation and conspiracy theories, 5,000 cases a day cuts through the noise. As they say, numbers don't lie. This brings the total of our cases to 616,611 and the total deaths to 12,766. All this despite one of the longest, strictest lockdowns in the world. Yan ba ang patunay sa sinasabi nila almost a week ago na excellent response? Yan ba ang sinasabi nila simula pa noong January na excellent performance? In Metro Manila alone, the reproduction number is currently at 1.86 according to Octa Research. Adding that, quote, the Philippines might record up to 8,000 daily new COVID cases by the end of March and 18 to 20,000 by mid-April, close quote. Are these numbers worthy of patting ourselves on the back for? 1 year into the pandemic, they compare the Philippines to more advanced economies. They say we have had fewer deaths. They say our population is not the same. Exactly. We are not the same. And those countries did not even have to impose severe, militaristic, and long lockdowns upon their peoples. If they insist on a gold star for performance, how about the latest figures from the World Health Organization, which put the country in a very dismal position compared to all the other countries in the Western Pacific region? Kung ito ang tinutukoy nilang excellent, aba, dito sa kategoryang ito, hindi maikakailang number 1 ang Pilipinas. Number 1 in total cases, number 1 in average daily cases, number 1 in number of deaths. Sa lagay na iyan, ay hindi pa kasali ang dagok ng COVID-19 sa ating ekonomiya. Una, sa kawalan ng trabaho. At least 4 million Filipinos were unemployed in January 2021 with an unemployment rate of 8.7%. That's one of our highest in 20 years. Ikalawa, ang pagbagal ng paglago ng ekonomiya. Our economic managers say that the economy contracted by 8.5 to 9.5% in 2020, plunging our country into recession. Ayon sa assessment ng ASEAN Focus noong September 2020, napakakupad ng pagtugon ng administrasyon sa malawakang epekto ng pandemya. Dagdag pa nila, naghigpit nga ang ating mga opisyal sa quarantine measures but, quote, later lifted restrictions prematurely, close quote. Napansin din ng report na ito ang kawalan ng kaayusan sa protocols at testing, pati na ang nakakadismayang pakikitungo sa mga OFWs na nawalan na nga ng trabaho sa ibang bansa ay pinahihirapan pa sa kanilang quarantine procedures paglapag sa Pilipinas. May pag-asa naman dahil nabigyan na ng emergency use authorization ang ilang COVID-19 vaccines. Ngunit delayed pa rin ang pagdating ng iba dahil parang may kinikilingang brand ang administrasyon or maybe because somebody dropped the ball during the negotiation phase. Kahit sabihin nating nagsimula na ang pagbabakuna, the vaccines that are already here have not been rolled out fast enough. As of March 10, only 144,615 individuals have been vaccinated. Our own health secretary admitting that our vaccination rollout rate is not as quick as we wanted. And that's a quote from the secretary. I share the sentiment of our colleague, Sen Ping, who said that at the rate we are vaccinating, we can only finish inoculating 70 million of our kababayan by 2033. Wag naman po. At ngayong hindi na naman magkaintindihan ang mga opisyal kung paano ibababa ang bilang ng mga kaso ng COVID, babalik na naman sila sa parehong style nila noong 2020. Militarismo bilang tugon sa isang problemang pangkalusugan. Bakit ba mga pulis natin na naka-fatigues at may hawak na baril ang kailangang manaway sa mga tao para magsuot ng mask, mag-face shield at mag-physical distancing? Yung pinagdadaanan ng ating mga kababayan sa kamay ng batas, ibang-iba sa pinagdaraanan ng ating Chief PNP na last year nakapagmanyanita pa, who last week skipped health screening in Calapan City at ngayon positive pala para sa COVID. Of course, sana gumaling siya agad at tinext ko po iyan sa kanyang Mr. President. Napakarami ng mga pagkakataon na inabuso ng ilang pulis at maging ng ilang mga local government officials ang kanilang kapangyarihan sa ngalan umano ng pagpapatupad ng health protocols. Ilan sa mga masasamang ulat ay ang paglapastangan sa karapatan ng 2 menor de edad sa Nai, Cavite na 1 oras na pinahiga pa sa ataul bilang parusa. Sa Santa Cruz, Laguna naman, may 5 menor de edad na pinagsiksikan at kinulong sa dog cage dahil lang lumampas sa curfew. Bakit kailangang tipunin pa ang mga tao at pagdikit-dikitan sa isang lugar kung ang paraan para maiwasan ang COVID ay maghiwa-hiwalay at dumistansya? Pag-isipan naman sana natin ang ating mga ginagawang patakaran. Hindi law enforcement response ang magiging gamot sa isang public health emergency. Gaya ng nasabi ko na noon, iwanan na natin ang naratibo na pasaway ang ating mga kababayan. Pagkatiwalaan natin ang ambag nila sa isang community-based, promotive, preventive, and protective response sa COVID-19. Bigyan natin ng pagkakataon ang kapwa nating Pilipino to do their share in this fight. Hindi naman natin sinasabing madali lang labanan ang COVID-19. Pero hindi rin naman kaila sa ating lahat ang matagal na at paulit-ulit na samo ng World Health Organization para mapababa ang mga kaso. Test, trace, isolate, and treat. Yan ang naglagay sa Vietnam at sa New Zealand sa safe zone bago pa man dumating ang mga bakuna. Matagal na tayo nasabihan to push harder and work harder dahil anumang pagkaantala, anumang pagpapaliban ay katumbas ng mas mahirap na pagpapatigil sa pagkalat ng virus. Kaya narito tayo ngayon. 1 taon na ang nakalipas. Wala pa ring unified contact tracing system. Kailangan natin ng tulong ng ating mga mamamayan, mga registered at accredited people's organizations at civil society organizations to complement local epidemiological and surveillance units. Pagtutulungan ang magiging susi sa mas maayos na data analysis at response. Data is the way to a new and better normal. Data is also the way to accountability. Tulad na lang ng mga numero tungkol sa napakataas na presyo ng mga PPEs at testing kits na ibinunyag rin natin dito noong nakaraang taon. Kung susuriin natin ang report ng DOH, Bumili sila ng 1 milyong set ng PPEs sa halagang 1.8 billion pesos, kung saan bawat set ay pumapatak sa 1,800 pesos. Halos doble na ng presyo ng pinakamahal na PPE. Pero matatandaan din natin na ayon kay Sen Ping, doble ang halaga na kumpara sa mga pribadong organisasyon. Ayon pa nga kay Sen Grace, mula 400 pesos hanggang 1,000 pesos ang presyo ng isang set ng PPE sa merkado. Isa pang revelasyon ni Sen Ping, yung binili ng gobyerno na nucleic acid extractors para sa COVID testing, umabot sa 4 million pesos. Pero yung Project ARC, nakabili ng parehong unit sa presyong 1.75 million pesos. Yung swabbing system, mayroon ding pagdodoble ng price tag. Kung ang pribadong sektor nakabili sa halagang $16 per unit, ang gobyerno gumastos ng $32 kada isa. This is why I also filed a resolution urging COA to conduct a special audit on how funds for the COVID-19 response have been spent. I hope this doesn't happen with our COVID vaccines and related collaterals, kung saan ang perang nakalaan ay inutang pa natin. We cannot be reckless with the more than $14 billion worth of loans. That's equivalent to about 690 billion pesos that the Filipino people would have to pay for generations to come. We deserve to know what every centavo was spent on, and that every centavo was truly used for our health, protection, and recovery. It's for this reason that I am urging the DOH to set up a vaccine tracker to apprise everyone of the progress of our vaccination efforts. Dapat alam ng mga Pilipino kung ano, ilan, magkano, at kanino mapupunta ang mga bibilihing vaccines. My dear colleagues, this is why we need better data analytics and information management. Malinis, matapat, maaasahan at napapanahong datos at impormasyon siyang gagamitin para sa maayos na pagpapasya at pagbuo ng mga epektibong polisiya. This is also why, Mr. President, if we were to give an excellent mark, it would not be to the administration's handling of the public health crisis, but to all medical frontliners who have been in the forefront of this fight despite tremendous sacrifices on their end, especially during times when even their basic personal protective equipment were lacking. We commend them for holding the line of our health system capacity and for making sure that the healthcare system remains afloat. The same excellent mark should be given to essential workers who, despite difficulties in transportation, workspace arrangements, and the threat of being exposed to the virus, soldiered on so that basic goods and services will continue to be received by the rest of us. Lastly, Mr. President, we should commend our local government units and the private sector for taking proactive leadership roles and initiatives. Quite often during this pandemic, it is our LGUs who have stepped up to make up for the deficiencies of our national government. LGUs, along with the private sector, filled in the gaps or whenever the national government seems to be acting in slow motion. Mr. President, ako po'y naniniwalang we will get through this health crisis despite the enormity of the challenge because of the best efforts being exerted by our national and local health authorities. That despite working within a weak and fragmented health system and facing immense pressures on all fronts, we acknowledge their work and thank them for not giving up and for continuing the fight. But just like in any fight, we need inspirational and innovative leaders who will rally and tell us the real score and not blindside us with self-made assessments seemingly drawn from thin air that guide us away from the real picture. If we are a real team, we need our leaders to step up and employ the whole of society approach to the crisis, especially as we begin to roll out and expand COVID-19 vaccination. COVID-19 is a health problem. That was the case in 2020, and that has not changed, only because 365 days have passed. This virus is not going away just because you brandish a gun, just as it will not stop spreading because there are officers in fatigues at the checkpoint. As I've already said before, it is our health professionals and scientists who need the widest berth. It is our development workers, our communities, our LGUs that need a boost in resources so they are not left to their own devices. And now that we have the looming threat of new variants, we are all hoping fervently and ardently that we don't spend another year stuck in a time loop. There's a year of lessons here just waiting to be learned and applied to our policies. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, let us beware the Ides of March. In the Filipino spirit of bayanihan, this time around, let us hope government is more proactive in doing it right. We all know we can still do better in this fight. Ipakita natin sa Asia at sa buong mundo. Ipangako natin ngayong mismong araw ng paniningil na sa ibang paraan naman natin sukatin ang ating pagtugon sa hamon ng COVID ngayong 2021. Kapit kamay at walang iwanan sa ere na narito tayong lahat para sa isa't isa. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move that the speech of the lady senator. May I ask for 1 minute? May we ask the lady senator where she would like her speech to be referred to, as it had covered several topics, Mr. President.
Obviously, Committee on Health, if I may suggest.
Hopefully, it will be taken up in the Committee on Health as soon as possible, Mr. President. I move that the speech of the lady senator be placed in the Committee on Health. Any comments, Senator Drilon, Mr. President? I think
No, Senator Cayetano is seeking the floor. Senator Pia Cayetano, you're recognized.
Mr. President, in the committee that will be chaired by Senator Angara again, to take up a simple resolution that will be expanded to many pages.
No, he's the he disagrees.
Moving forward, Mr. President, moving forward.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
Can we entertain the motion to refer to the
Yes.
Committee on Health?
Yes, Mr. President, I move that that the speech of the gentle lady senator be referred to the Committee on Health, Mr. President.
Any objection? Chair hears none. So referred.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we do have a resolution that we asked our secretary to prepare, and it's a very important resolution, Mr. President. This is the resolution on the pork issue. So, Mr. President, I move that we consider these two resolutions on the table, Mr. President. PS Resolution number 676, taking in consideration Senate Resolution number 684. I so move, Mr. President.
676, 684. Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration is in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure, just a little bit of a background. PS Resolution number 676 was authored by Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan, and to also tackle the issue on the importation of pork, we decided to come up with a joint, sort of like it's a resolution, Mr. President, joining the two topics together. And that's why we have PS Resolution number 684 signed by almost all members of the Senate. So we'd like to ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure, Mr. President.
You're talking about 676 then?
Yes, Mr. President,
Or
that being the primary resolution, and then we will have to move for substitution to 684, Mr. President.
Okay. The PS Resolution 676 was already read into the records last session. Perhaps you would want 684 to be read also?
Yes, Mr. President, that is correct.
All right. So
I so
let's let's have the PS Resolution 684.
PS Resolution number 684, resolution expressing the sense of the Senate to persuade the Chief Executive, His Excellency Rodrigo Roa Duterte, to disapprove the recommendation of the Department of Agriculture to lower the tariff rates on and to increase the minimum access volume of imported pork products, and to urge the Department of Agriculture to recommend to the President that a state of national calamity be declared due to the severe impact of African swine fever on the swine industry.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
President. We'd like to recognize Senator Pangilinan being the principal author, if would like to come up with opening remarks in support of the motion.
Senator Pangilinan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. We have no objection to incorporating this resolution together with the resolution we filed last Wednesday. And therefore, we hope that we can move to approve Senate Resolution 676, taking into consideration Senate Resolution
684.
684.
684.
684.
Perhaps, Majority Leader, if I may recommend, that the text of PS Resolution 684 be incorporated into 676.
That is correct.
Considering
That
the
is
fact
correct,
that
Mr.
it is complete.
Yes, Mr.
No,
President. Actually, the text
it complements the resolution of Senator Pangilinan.
that is
Of course,
correct, Mr.
because
President.
he is the principal author of 676. Then 684, he will be the first introducer, followed
Yes,
by
Mr.
yours
President.
truly, and so on.
Yes, Mr. President. That is
Technically, that is
absolutely
how it's
correct.
going to be.
With the permission of the body, I so move that we adopt that as the primary resolution, Mr. President.
All right, we take the number of 676, we incorporate 684 into the text of the entire 676, including
That is
the
correct.
title of 684. Any objection? Chair hears none. So adopted. Now let's
Mr. President,
consider the resolution.
Yes. Mr. President,
Just,
we have a
approve.
colleague. Yes,
Senator Lacson is
That's correct.
seeking the floor. Senator Zubiri, if you don't mind. Yes, Senator Ping Lacson is recognized.
I manifested earlier, informally before the session, that I'd like to ask some questions in connection with the proposed Senate resolution, Mr. President, if I may be allowed. Of course,
Yes,
by
sir.
the distinguished senator. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
thank you. Mr. President, to keep it
No,
orderly.
wait.
Yes. Mr. President,
Senator Lacson he has the floor. He wants to ask questions.
yes, Mr. President,
On
but
the
who will,
resolution.
the question is who will answer. That's why I want to put on the floor lang who will answer.
Okay.
Since the issue, Mr. President, possibly on the national calamity, the state of calamity, we can ask Senator Kiko to answer that. And for the issue on the MAV and importation, maybe we can ask the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Senator Villar, to answer his questions, Mr. President. So that's what I wanted to put on record. Thank you.
All right. So we give the floor to Senator Lacson.
Either
Go ahead.
or both the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture or Senator Kiko may answer the questions, Mr. President.
All right.
Anyway, first let me manifest full support for the adoption of the proposed Senate resolution, and I would like to take the opportunity to also thank the man or the colleague from the other side of the aisle, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, for delivering a speech on this very important and timely issue. Having said that, Mr. President, the distinguished sponsor, of them yield to some.
Yes. Your signal is coming in and out, Senator Lacson. I hope you can try to check on the.
My internet
Anyway.
connection is great, Mr. President.
Yes. Go ahead.
I've,
Now continue. Yeah, you're doing now. Okay.
Yeah,
You're doing fine. Now.
500.
Go ahead.
Mr. President. Anyway, yeah, My first question, Mr. President, which office in particular under the Department of Agriculture is in charge of the MAV and all related activities like awarding of the quotas to which importers of pork, etc., Mr. President?
Senator Pangilinan. Go ahead.
I think I would rather defer to the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, as this is the aspect that she wanted to introduce in today's deliberations, Mr.
All
President.
right. Senator Villar is recognized.
Mr. President, I would like to think that everything is under the Bureau of Animal Industry. And of course, there is the National Meat Inspection Service. They are the two agencies in the Bureau, in the Department of Agriculture which are prominent in importation and development of the industry. And sometimes we're confused who are in charge of giving this import permit. So I would like to think that it's under the Bureau of Animal Industry, the related agencies under the Bureau of Animal Industry.
These two agencies under the DA are members of the so-called MAV Management Committee or Council, Mr. President.
Yeah, I think.
And who is in charge of the MAV Management Committee?
I think in the end it's the Secretary of Agriculture, because they cannot do anything without the approval of the Secretary of Agriculture. So whatever they do, in the end, it's the Secretary of Agriculture who is responsible for this.
I agree, but we have what we call an office of primary responsibility under the DA. And I believe that office is the MAV Management Committee, headed by a certain USEC or ASEC William C. Medrano. Have you heard?
Yeah.
Acting USEC for hog importation, as a matter of fact, Mr. President.
So they always change people, so I don't bother to learn who are in charge. But I feel the one responsible will be the Secretary of Agriculture. They always change people there. Sometimes you cannot follow up now how they are changing positions.
Ultimately responsible, Mr. President. But there's a person in charge, and he is Assistant Secretary, who is acting Undersecretary for Hog Importation. Anyway, Mr. President, I agree that two agencies under the DA are participants or members of the MAV Management Committee. And these are the Bureau of Animal Industry and the NMIS, the National Meat Inspection Service, whose executive director is also an OIC, Dr. Josephine Salvador.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's why you notice when I make bills for agriculture, I choose na the agency which will implement. Kasi it's so hard because they're always changing people, they're always changing agency. It's so hard to find who is responsible for what's happening. So just like when I wrote that Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund and the Coco Levy Fund, I indicate the agency which will be responsible, kasi it's so hard to find who is responsible. So that is better. But right now, I don't bother na sa DA. Ang gulo-gulo nila. May OIC, merong head, tapos may OIC, may ganon. I'm confused. Just like you, I'm confused also. Thank you.
Mr. President, I ask those questions simply because I'd like to find out if they have been asked to provide the Senate with the complete details or data on the number of quotas so far allocated, as well as the names of importers awarded the quotas, including their corresponding volumes of hog importations as of their latest record. Kung naitanong ba natin ito during any of our committee hearings? And that's the reason why I asked for the names and the offices concerned, Mr. President. because my succeeding questions will be in relation to my earlier question, Mr. President.
When I do, Mr. President, when I do hearing on things, maybe I'm different. I work on the principle, not on with regards to the people. I believe that if the principle of doing things is okay, then everything else will follow. So I never ask these questions, but if our good senator from Cavite would like to get those data, I will ask them to submit it to you. What I studied in this hearing is the principle of whether founded ba yung mag-increase ng MAV, whether the importers are making money with the present tariff or they will lose money if we continue with the present tariff or not. Those are the things I know. I don't deal with personal things like the list of people. I don't care about the list of people. As long as the principle is okay, then whoever they are, they just follow what is in the law.
In my case, Mr. President, we're dealing here with money, public money, and possible foregone revenues. That's why I'm asking these questions. Anyway.
But if you, Mr. President, if our good senator from Cavite would want like that, something like that, I'll ask them to produce those list for you, especially. I will do that after this.
Not for me especially, but for the whole Senate, Mr. President.
Yeah. I will ask them to provide all the senators the list. Okay, so you would know them. Okay, so you would know who are benefiting from these policies. Unless Secretary Senator Kiko knows better. I give the floor to Senator Kiko.
Go ahead, Mr. President, for Senator Kiko. If he's-
Senator Pangilinan is recognized.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. I remember raising this same question to the distinguished gentleman from Cavite and Mr. President. We raised this question in the first hearing, and they submitted, the Department of Agriculture submitted the list of the volumes imported, the names of the importers for both chicken and pork. So I'm not sure if they submitted it to the committee, but it was by way of my representation that the question was raised and the documents were turned over. So you have here a long list and the volumes, the names, the items imported, and the total for both chicken and pork, Mr. President. We can turn this over to the senator from Cavite if
And the others.
Yes, and the others.
Thank you. I was about to say that without casting aspersions on the integrity of the officials that I mentioned, Mr. President. Nevertheless, I received this some disturbing information from a highly placed source, who has knowledge of the modus operandi within the agency that at present rates of 30% tariff for in-quota hog importation and 40% for off-quota importation. Meron ng umiiral na kalakaran na tompats or SOP of 5 to 7 pesos per kilo. And since as per the computations mentioned in the draft resolution, sufficient na rin yung profit margin based on the current and local prices of pork, then I'd like to pursue this issue, Mr. President. Now, to illustrate, and this based on some quick that would include 7 days stay cost of cold storage facility per container, and then 15% importer or importers markup, and another 15% retail margin. Now, if they're selling based on price indicated in the resolution at 284 pesos 64 centavos, that's a profit of 44 pesos and 64 centavos per kilogram or an 18.5 profit margin. Now, right now, based on the canvas that we did, my staff did on pork prices, yung pork nagbebenta sa 270 to 300. So, sa 270, it's 29 pesos and 99 centavos per kilogram or a profit margin of 12.5. Kung susundin natin yung canvas price na 270 pesos. Now, I believe that Senator Kiko still has some contacts inside the department. So I asked, have you heard the same or similar information on this, Mr. President? I'm asking Senator Kiko because he came from the same department in his capacity as a presidential advisor.
Yes.
During the
Yes, thank you for that question, Senator Lacson, the distinguished gentleman from Cavite. That's precisely why I asked for the volumes and the names of the importers for chicken and pork and the list so that we could look into it and precisely check if what has been a modus operandi, and we've been hearing this too, na ilan-ilan lang yan, paikot-ikot lang sa isang grupo ang nabibigyan. This is the allegation, of course. Nabibigyan ng permits to be able to import. And just to pursue the point raised earlier by Senator Lacson, based on his computations, we also have computations, and it was manifested precisely by one of the meat importers who is importing temporarily. This is the Pro-Pork Coalition. They are really local hog raisers. And he said kahit na 10% lang ang markup, malaki na ang kinikita ng mga importer at 40% or 30% tariff. So you can imagine if we bring it down to 5% or 10%, they will be swimming in billions of pesos of profit, Mr. President. And that is precisely why dapat bantayan.
Mr. President, I'm going to...
In that connection, I want to make a manifestation, Senator Lacson, with your permission.
May I just pursue that point before
Okay,
I forget?
okay, sige, okay. Thank you.
Ito yung... That's why this proposed Senate resolution is very important and very timely. Ito po yung aking sasabihin. Kung babawasan pa natin ang tariff, both on in-quota and off-quota importations from 30% to 5% and 40% to 15% respectively, lalong lalaki pa yung profit margin. Would you agree, Mr. President? Of course, it goes without saying, hindi ba? Kasi binawasan yung tariff from 30 to 5 for in-quota and 40 to 15 for off-quota. So lalaki yung profit margin.
I just want to make a manifestation in that connection.
I yield to the lady from Las Piñas.
Yes. You know, the Department of Agriculture said that we are going to import projection on importation. That's the demand minus the supply. There will be an importation of 388,000 metric tons. But from the record of the customs, 70% of the importation are offal. And according to our tariff law, offal has 5 to 10% tariff already. So there is really no need to decrease the tariff because there is really a low tariff for offal, and that is 70% of our importation. 30% lang yung nasa MAV. That's why I told Senator Subiri that I would like to detach this in our resolution number 11 to lines 11 to 22 because it's not true. We are not collecting this kind of tariff because according to our tariff law already being implemented, 5 to 10% lang ang opal at ang importation natin 70% are opal and only 30% are good meat. Yun lang ang magbabayad ng 30 to 40%, yung 30% at yung 70% talagang opal na yun, 5 to 10% lang yun. On the average, sabi nila 7 kasi merong 5, may 10, 7%. So, in effect, even if we don't decrease the tariff is low already. That's why we don't really get a lot of tariff income from them. Parang yung nabasa ko dito, mga 4 billion a year lang ang tariff income natin. Kasi yung 70% mura na ang tariff, yung 30% lang ang 30 to 40. And that's 30% for the 54,000 and then for the 62,000 kasi ang 30% ng 388,000 is something like 120,000 metric tons. So yun lang ang 30 to 14 tariff. Yung 200 yung opal is something like 200 70% of 388 is 256, something like that. So, parang sa akin, there's no argument that we will not decrease tariff because it's low already. 70% is 5 to 8%. Something like on the average 7%. Ngayon, tatanungin mo na lang kung yung opal, talagang opal yun. But that's, wala na tayong magagawa doon. Talaga yun ang dinideclare nilang opal at 30% lang ang good meat. So, maganda na sa kanila tong ating sistema ngayon that there's no need to decrease. Kaya nga, tinawagan ko ang DOF because I kept on reading and reading. And I found out that 70% of our importation are opal with a tariff of 5 to 10%, on the average 7%. So why do we have to decrease the tariff? Yes, Senator Kiko.
Yes,
I give
absolutely.
the floor to Senator Kiko.
There is no disagreement. That's why we're pursuing to adopt this resolution na hindi kailangan na mag-decrease tariff. Hindi rin siguro puti yung pag-increase ng quota. Anyway, Mr. President, as I was saying earlier, kung mag-reduce tayo ng tariff, aside from the foregone conclusion, siyempre lalaki yung profit margin. And kung merong existing SOP o tongpats na under the present system, under the present tariff or rates, kung meron ng SOP 5 pesos to 7 pesos per kilo, logical to natataas din yung tongpats kasi tataas yung profit eh. So if simultaneously with the reduction of tariffs, iakyat naman yung volume from 54,000 metric tons to something like 400,000 metric tons. Bukod sa malaki ang magiging foregone revenues, Mr. President. On the other hand, the resultant effect is a tremendous increase in the SOP, in the tongpats. Isn't that another logical conclusion, Mr. President?
I'll ask Senator Kiko to answer.
Gentleman from Cavite, that is correct. That is precisely why we want to pursue looking into the people behind the importers, the board of directors, the track record, their paid up capital, how much they are going to be importing, and the like. And that's why we asked it. And just to give a sense to our colleagues, as well as the gentleman from the Cavite, if at $3 landed cost per kilo,
Yes, right.
that is $1.2 billion at 400,000 metric tons or 400 million kilos. That is $1.2 billion landed cost. Pag nilagyan mo ng 40 pesos per kilo yun, hindi ba? That is actually, in pesos, that's 57.6 billion pesos already. Landed cost of 400,000 metric tons. Ang laki ng kikitain dito kung talagang ganito kalaki ang pinapayagang ma-import at ibababa pa ang taripa Bilyon-bilyong halaga ang kita rito. Somebody or some group or some sector will be making a killing in terms of profits because of this policy. And that's why, is it the right policy? Do we flood and lower at the same time the tariffs, Mr. President? Kaya nga nagtataka kami, bakit pilit na pinapalaki ng napakalaki? Oo, may shortage. Oo, mayroong kakulangan ng supply. Pero tama ba na ganitong kalaki ang ipapasok natin para ma-address yung shortage? Eh baka mangyari yung nangyayari sa rice na binuhos ng ang ating bansa ng imported rice, pero bumaba nga ang presyo ng bigas, pero hindi kasing baba nung nararapat sana. So saan pumunta yung pinatong na halaga para inaipasok yung ganung kalaking halaga ng bigas?
Exactly the point that I'm pursuing, Mr. President, distinguished colleague. In fact, ito yung konting computation. Ito logical kasi proportion yung pag-usapan natin. Mr. President, at 400,000 metric tons or equivalent to 400 million kilos or 4 million kilos, 4 million. So
400 million.
4 million.
4 million
Times 1,000. 4 billion.
another 1,000.
Yeah. Tatlong zero.
400
400 million.
400 million.
Ito, President. Kung merong existing na 5 pesos to 7 pesos per kilo na tongpats, ito galing to sa loob, hindi ko ito inimbento. Galing sa inside information na umiiral na kalakaran. At kung sabihin na lang natin nagdoble yung patong, no? Yung 5 pesos, in 10 to 15 pesos ngayon ang patong. You can just imagine yung kikitain ng sindikato dito. Times 10. So, sa 4 million na lang, times 10, or 400 million times 10, that's easily 4 billion pesos. Ito yung SOP. At kung 15 pesos, ang dadagdag, kasi 5 to 7 eh. Kung 5, magiging 10. Kung 7, magiging 14 or 15. Sabihin natin 15. Eh di easily 6 billion pesos ang kikitain ng mga masuswerte roon sa that's why, Mr. President, at the proper time, during the period of amendments, if I may be allowed, I will propose a couple of amendments. And this deals with the issues that I have raised earlier. At the proper time, gusto ko manawagan sa PACC to conduct a motu proprio investigation to find out kung totoo ba na existing yung at current tariff rates, existing na ba yung at sa volume 54,000 metric tons. Kung merong 5 to 7 pesos, dapat alamin natin ito kasi kaya siguro nagpipilit na ibaba yung tariff at itaas yung volume. Kasi katakot-takot, sabi nga ni Senator Kiko kanina, talagang baka meron namang laughing all the way to the bank. While, again, yung revenues natin will suffer. And at the same time, mamamatay yung mga hog raisers natin, yung local hog raisers. So, we have really to strike a balance and find out, get to the bottom of all these moves, And sabi ko, very timely and very important that we adopt this resolution and inform the President of the possible dire consequences on the foregone revenue side and at the same time on the corruption issue, Mr. President. So at the proper time, I would like to propose a couple of amendments, one in the whereas clause, under the whereas clause, and the other to sa resolutory clause. Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I yield to Senator Villar.
Senator Villar.
I just want to make a manifestation that the foregone income is too high because really out of the 388 that we are 1,000 metric tons that we are importing, 70% are offal. Maliit na yung tariff sa OFAL, 5 to 10%, on the average 7%. Kaya hindi ganun kalaki. Yung 126 lang ang 116 lang ang good meat. Yun yung mataas ang tariff. Kaya in terms of income for the government, maliit lang. 4 billion nga lang a year. Kasi nga, yung 276, kinlassify na nilang OPAL, mahina ang tariff noon. On the average, 7% lang yon. So, maliit lang yon. So, yung natitira lang na mataas ang tariff is the 116,000 based on 388. So, yun lang ang 30 to 40% ang tariff. Kaya parang hindi na worthwhile ibaba kasi konti lang yon. Konti lang yon. Wala ring masyadong foregone income. Talaga lang na mura na rin ang tariff for hog importation talaga. And I think the problem is they declare yung good meat as offal, kaya mura na rin ang tariff nila. Yes.
Of the committee chairperson and our colleagues, ano nga ulit ibig sabihin ng opal?
Mas mura yun yung mga laman loob, mga pangit na part ng hog. Yung good meat, yun yung mga talagang magaganda, yung ano tawag doon, yung mga nice cut, mga nice cut. Yung opal, yun yung mga mga paa, mga tenga, mga ulo, mga gano'n, something like that. Basta yung pangit, opal. So yun, 7% lang ang tariff noon. Pero pwede mo rin namang kung kasabwat mo yung inspector, pwede mo sabihin yung good meat opal and pay 7%. Yun na nga ba sinasabi ko na hindi na kailangan ibaba ang tariff, mababa na kasi 7% na for the 70% of our import. 30% na lang ang good meat. So
Yes.
there is no foregone income. Talaga mababa na rin ang tariff. Kaya parang useless to. Yes, Senator Kiko.
Permission of the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture and Senator Lacson. Just very quickly, yan din ang isa pang source of corruption.
Yun na nga, mas malaki yun.
Yung misdeclaration. At hindi magagawa yan kung binabantayan ng BAI, ng Bureau of Animal Industry, kung binabantayan ng customs.
Napaka list of at least 5 importers na merong quota. And this is only for the Port of Manila. I will share the list with Senator Kiko and Rabil. And if I may, aside from adopting a resolution, siguro maybe it is proper also for the Senate as a committee of the whole to conduct investigation precisely on that particular issue raised by Senator Kiko. Because sobra na kasi itong nangyayari na may pandemya, nasa naman yung konsensya ng mga tao na in the middle of a pandemic, tapos may Asian swine flu pa tayo, makakaisip pa ba naman ng kikita ng bilyon? Di ba marapat lamang? Anyway, just to summarize, again, I'd like to state for the record na pagdating ng period of amendments, I'm going to introduce my proposed amendments. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all for my interpellation.
All right, Senator
recognize
Ontiveros
Senator
is
Ontiveros.
seeking the floor unless Majority
Thank you.
Leader.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, just for the record, a brief manifestation by way of requesting the authors to be made a co-author of these resolutions. Salamat, Mr. President. After consultations with the affected backyard and commercial hog raisers, including the meat vendors, I agree with the authors that the proposal of tariff reduction and increase in the minimum access volume will result in an estimated foregone government revenue of 19.786 billion pesos, which could otherwise be used to assist the domestic hog industry to recover from African swine fever and the COVID-19 pandemic. Assistance is badly needed at this point when the impact of devastation is deep and widespread, and the projection of recovery is that it will take several years. I also support the declaration of a state of calamity throughout the Philippines to provide the government, the DA, and the LGUs and other concerned agencies the needed fiscal space and ample latitude to utilize appropriate funds, including the Quick Response Fund and other funds that may be declared savings and used to immediately respond to the outbreak and pursue effective programs on recovery, such as border controls, farm biosafety measures, and an increase in insurance coverage to encourage repopulation. Patong-patong na po ang paghihirap ng ating mga mamamayan dahil sa epekto ng COVID. Ang pagkalugi ng ating industriya ng mga magbababoy, lalo na yung mga maliliit na magbababoy dahil sa African swine fever ay talagang nakadagdag pa. Huwag nating hayaang maubos ang kabuhayan at tuluyan na hindi makabangon. So once more, Mr. President, with a request to the good authors to include me as a co-author, salamat po, Mr. President.
Mr. President, may we also recognize Senator Joel Villanueva for manifestation.
Senator Joel Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Floor Leader. Mr. President, just a short manifestation. July 2019, yun po yung unang naitala ng Department of Agriculture, ang unang African swine fever outbreak sa Pilipinas. Magdadalawang taon na po ito, Ginoong Pangulo, itong problema ng ating swine industry. Mas mahaba pa po sa panahong nilalabanan natin ang pandemya na COVID-19. Kung matatandaan po ninyo, bago pa man po ang pagtaas o pag-skyrocket ng presyo ng baboy ngayong taon dahil sa kakulangan ng supply, sumadsad naman po ito ilang beses nung nakaraang taon yung presyo po ng baboy dahil sa ASF scare. A lot of consumers were confused and scared that the ASF can also spread to humans. Bumaba ang demand sa pork products at napakaraming swine producers po ang nalugi. At gusto ko hong bigyan diin yung mga nalugi at ngayon binabanggit po sa atin doon sa aming probinsya sa Bulacan, lumpung-lumpo na ho yung ating mga hog raisers. Ngayon po, sa proposal na ibaba ang taripa at itaas ang minimum access volume sa imported pork products, panibagong dagok po ito, Ginoong Pangulo, nakakaharapin ng ating mga local swine industry dahil sa ASF. The threat of flooding the local market with imported pork at reduced tariff is expected to further discourage domestic hog production, potentially resulting in loss of jobs of farm workers. And that's why at this juncture, let me also spread into the records my full support to the call of our distinguished colleague from Cavite, Senator Ping Lacson, not only for PACC to motu proprio investigate this particular issue, not only for the amendments that our dear colleague would introduce, but also perhaps for the body to consider calling for a committee of the whole investigation on this particular issue. Mr. President, I really believe that we need to revive our swine industry. We must continue to boost our efforts to help our swine industry now more than ever. Considering that the ASF is a very persistent disease and the virus can survive for a very long time in various mediums, we must rather gear our efforts towards making them more efficient by providing them subsidies, training programs, and access to infrastructure, and by helping them comply with science-based guidelines on biosecurity that will allow them to handle such outbreaks now and in the future. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, dear colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. With
Yes,
that, I move close the period of interpellation, open the period of amendments, and recognize, if it's all right with Senator Lacson, maybe recognize first the chairperson of the committee for amendments, and then we'll recognize Senator Lacson. She already called me yesterday, Mr. President. I may recognize Senator Vilon before we open the period of amendments.
Yes.
Now, before that, all right, you're moving to end the period of interpellation. Does it have anything to do with that, Senator Dillon? You're recognized.
No, I was going to make a proposal on the manner in which this will be amended so that we will submit it to the floor for the consideration of the body. Basically,
Okay, well, the procedure then that we should do is to open the period of amendments, and then the majority leader would formally move that the text and the title of PS 684 be incorporated into PS 676. I think that is a proper procedure, and then we amend
Yes,
the contents.
that's correct, Mr.
then,
President.
no? So if it's okay with the minority leader, we recognize the majority leader. The first,
Yes.
the motion is to end the period of interpellation. Hearing
Yes.
no objection, period of interpellation is closed. Now,
And I move, Mr.
Yes.
President, that the title and the text of PS Resolution number 684 be incorporated into PS Resolution number 676.
Mr. President,
Senator Dillon, yes.
yes, that is precisely why I am seeking the floor. Because in my view, there are already three resolutions, separate resolutions. One, a resolution urging the President to declare a state of calamity due to the severe impact of the African swine fever. That's one topic. The second issue is opposing the proposed reduction of the tariff rates and the increase in the minimum and the MAV of imported pork products. And the third is the misdeclaration of the nature of the imported pork products, which gives rise to this issue of the tariff rates already very low because of the misdeclaration. I believe these three, Mr. President, better that we separate the three resolutions, because particularly the third, this will call for an investigation. That's our submission, Mr. President, if it can be done.
What is the third? What is the number of the third resolution?
There is none yet, Mr. President, because I am proposing that the issue brought out by Senator Lacson be the subject of a separate resolution. It can be subsequently numbered, but this issue should be referred to to the Blue Ribbon for investigation. The first two resolutions are just resolutions expressing the sense of the Senate.
But Minority Leader, I think that is the amendment of Senator Lacson. He will amend this to incorporate and call for an investigation.
Well, precisely, sir.
We will not need the third resolution if that is the case.
Precisely, the first two resolutions would express the sentiment of the Senate, and copies of this resolution will immediately be sent to the office of the President. That is why there is a need for those separate resolutions, because it does not have to be referred to any committee. That's the sense of the Senate. But the third one, Senator Lacson himself asserted, this needs to be investigated.
Mr. President, maybe we can ask Senator Lacson and his staff to craft a resolution.
Just as a reminder, these two resolutions were referred to the Committee on Rules. That is why when we took it up, it was the majority leader's role to bring it to the floor.
Yes, I believe we have no conflict on that, Mr. President. I believe what the Senator Drilon, our Minority Floor Leader, is requesting that we have a separate resolution on the misdeclaration issue.
Which
So
will be-
I concur, Mr. President, if we could have a separate resolution and then investigate.
We have others who want the floor. Senator Pangilinan and then Senator Villar. Go ahead, Senator Pangilinan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just a procedural matter. We can actually adopt the first motion of the majority leader to incorporate the two resolutions. And during the period of amendment, if Senator Lacson wishes to continue to amend, then we can debate on the issue of the amendment in terms of suggesting a separate resolution. I mean, that's just a matter of procedure, Mr. President.
All right, Senator Villar.
I would like to inform the Senate President that we have to finish the first two resolution because there is a deadline. After the Congress suspends in March 24, the President can issue now the executive order to increase the tariff and to decrease the tariff and increase the MAV. So we have to submit it now to the President so that he can consider this. Otherwise, if we're late, then we will just issue the executive order that was recommended by the Department of Agriculture. So we have to finish these two resolution and then we go to another effort, yung investigation of the technical smuggling. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Senator, may we ask now Senator Lacson if his amendment will include the investigation, or he agrees that a separate resolution be approved today. We can do it subject to style. We don't need to file it tomorrow or whatever.
Whether it's part of the second portion of the resolution, I mean the recommendation that the Senate conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation, that's fine with me, Mr. President. Or we can file a separate resolution calling for the investigation in the matter of the reduction. Of course, that's related, Mr. President. Reduction of tariff and increase in MAV, in the volume. At the same time, the issues that I raised on the tongpats, on the SOP.
So you may agree that we need not put that here in this resolution because this will be directly sent to the President.
Yes, Mr. President. But the proposed amendment on the TACC stepping in to conduct a motu proprio investigation, that could be included in this resolution that we are discussing right now, Mr. President.
All right. So, Majority Leader,
Yes,
let
Mr.
us
President.
act on this now. The
And also,
motion, your
Yes,
motion is to open the period of amendments, and in the period of amendments, incorporate the title and the text of PS Resolution 684 into 676.
That's correct, Mr. President.
So
That is correct, Mr.
there is technically we need to strike out all the text and title of 676 and incorporate all the contents of text and the title of 684 into 676. All right?
That's correct, Mr. President.
All
Thanks so
right.
much.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved. Now
Then,
we
Mr.
are in the
President,
period of amendment and we
that's
are
correct.
taking up 676, which the contents is before you now.
Just to add,
What is
to
the
the-
amendment now?
Mr. President, just to add to the discussion, with the permission of Senator Lacson, my staff in the rules can work with his staff so that we can come up with a new resolution that we can approve tomorrow, Mr. President, with the permission of Senator Lacson on the issue on investigation, particularly on the tongpats and the technical smuggling. So I can instruct the Rules Committee to work with Senator Lacson's staff for that, to at least speed things up, Mr. President. And may we recognize, Mr. President, Senator Villar, she, I believe, being the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, have very important inputs to add in the amendments, and then we can recognize Senator Lacson. Mr.
All right,
President.
Senator Villar is recognized.
There is a draft resolution combining the two. And I'm looking at right now. I just want to make a manifestation that on page 3, there is a draft resolution combining the two resolution. On page 3, lines 11 to 22, it says they computed the loss for gun revenues because of the decrease in tariff. I tend to believe that this is not the right amount because in the first place, I got the tariff collection of BOC. They don't collect this tariff even if there's we're not talking of 400,000 metric tons times 30 to 40%. We're just talking of 112,000 metric tons because 116,000 metric tons because 272,000 metric tons are offal, and that has an 5 to 10% tariff. So mababa na yon. So that cannot be a loss because even if we decrease the tariff, that will be the same because it has a lower tariff na as of now. So I think this lines 11 to 22 is over parang nakakahiya na ipakita natin sa president na mali yung computation natin. It cannot be like this because 70% of the importation is 5 to 10% na ang tariff. So it cannot be this big. We're talking only of 116,000 a good meat. So that's based on report of the BOC for the last 3 years, 2018, 2019, and 2020. In fact, their collection for 2020 is just 3 billion. 3.2 billion. So it cannot be this big because as I said, 70%, whether it's right or wrong na opal sila, but that is the practice. 70% palagi ang opal, 30% lang yung good meat. So there cannot be a loss as big as this. So I want to remove this lines 11 to 22. Kasi magko-conflict siya do sa assumption natin that 70% of our offal which have already a tariff of 5 to 10% and 30% are MAB with a tariff of 30 to 40%. So may conflict yung lines 11 to 22 dun sa ating lines 24 to 30. Kaya gusto kong tanggalin yon kasi
Okay.
mali.
So what is the proposal of the distinguished lady from Las Piñas?
So we remove lines,
delete
those 3 assumptions. So
delete line 11 to
22.
11 to 22.
Yes.
And that is your
No
proposal
addition.
as an amendment.
Yes,
all right?
yes. Just delete para hindi
alright.
tayo mali.
Any objection? Wait. We will delete it, but we
Mr.
will
President, subject to stand,
we will
Mr.
have
President.
to restructure
Yes.
the grammatics. We have to
No, just
restructure the
delete.
grammar, no? Because we are affecting 3 whereases, 4 whereases.
No, we are not affecting, it is in conflict with 24-30, lines 24 to 30, but that is correct. I'm deleting the 11 to 22 kasi wrong computation. The assumption
Why?
is wrong.
And you do not intend to correct the computation instead?
No more,
You
no
just
more.
want to delete this? If we
Yeah,
would
delete
this
that.
then,
Our
the way it will read, pagka sinunod natin yung proposed amendment ninyo, it will
Mawawala
read
lang yung
line 9.
tatlong paragraph.
Whereas the DA, as a measure to address the increasing prices of pork and the estimated deficit of supply of about 388,400,
I will remove that.
proposes to increase the MAB from the cost insurance and freight CIS as of January 6.
No. We're talking of Mr. President, we're talking of the wrong paragraph. It's page 3, 11 to 22.
Mr. President,
That's
may
not the
I step
content.
in? Madam Chair,
Majority Leader.
Madam Chair, I think you have a wrong copy, Madam Chair. Can you look at the filed copy, Madam Chair? This is PS Resolution number 684,
Okay.
not a draft. Because the Senate President is absolutely correct. You are removing mid-paragraph of the
Okay.
second paragraph.
No, I just, subject to style, just remove this computation in your new, in this computation, because this computation is wrong. So I don't mind what you indicate as long as you remove this, subject to style. You just show me if, because this is a wrong computation, because 70% are off.
Sa 20.
Maybe, Mr. President, to be safe. Mr. President, yes.
Ito lang about forgone.
The Secretariat has a different copy. Majority Leader, will you please, let's
Yes.
coordinate
Let's suspend.
first. Let's
Maybe,
suspend
Mr. President,
for a few
let us
minutes.
suspend.
Coordinate the copy, yes, and talk to the staff of Senator Villar and
Yes.
the Secretariat. You know,
Maybe,
what-
Mr. President, if possible, to save time because we have to close shop tonight early because of the curfew. Maybe we can suspend muna consideration of this while our staff talk. In the meantime, let's do additional reference of business,
okay.
Mr. President.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Okay.
We can do that.
Senator Lacson, Mr.
Senator
President, is
Lacson,
listening
you're
from-
recognized.
Maybe I can already introduce my proposed amendments
Sige.
under this resolution while Senator Villar is preparing her own amendments, Mr. President.
What copy do you have?
My proposed amendments will affect her amendments, Mr. President.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just to say, and to get this over with,
Go ahead, Senator Lacson. What is your amendment?
thank you, Mr. President. After the 22nd whereas clause, insert a
22nd
new
whereas clause. Anong page yun?
insert. I'm not sure anymore, President. But number 22.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Oh.
Yes.
Yung page 3, line 44. Oh.
Okay. Insert a new whereas clause to read as follows.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this institution has received reports that on top of this burden to our local hog industry, unscrupulous individuals have found a way to illegally profit from the scheme through the imposition of open quote, tongpats, close quote, open parenthesis, a variation of patong or padded cost, close parenthesis, amounting to 5 to 7 pesos per kilo of imported pork at present rate, which could significantly increase upon the approval of the proposed tariff reduction from 30% to 5% for in quota and 40% to 15% out quota or off quota. And the MAB allocation is increased under the proposition. And number 2, amendment, add a new resolutory clause
Wait,
to read as
Pasan muna natin yan. Any objection? Chair hears none. Adopted. What is the next amendment? Resolutory
Add a
portion.
resolutory clause to read as follows. Resolved further to urge the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate, motu proprio, the allegation that certain unscrupulous individuals contrived a scheme of tongpats in the proposed 2-tiered increase of MAB allocation and tariff rate reduction of imported pork products amid the ASF outbreak. I so move, Mr. President.
All right. What is any objection? Senator Pangilinan, you're the main author now. No objection. All right. Hearing none. Adopted.
Then I will end it there, Mr. President. Meantime, a Senate resolution will be filed calling for a Senate investigation. Tapos na po yung amendments. Investigation in aid of legislation in connection with the reported tongpats of 5 pesos to 7 pesos in the importation of products under the MAP allocation. That will be contained in a separate resolution, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you. Now, in the meantime, we suspend consideration, Majority Leader, so that you will
Yes.
coordinate with Senator Subillar on what her amendment is going to be. All
Yes,
right,
Mr.
so that we can
President, we need
facilitate the
to-
facilities and continue.
We'll need to suspend, Mr. President, because we cannot amend the measure by bahala na tayo, Mr. President. We need the specifics on the measure, what we will put, and what amendments to place,
So,
Mr. President, with due
so
respect.
you-
So we move to
suspend
suspend
na.
consideration.
all right.
momentarily.
Any hearing no objection, consideration of 676 is hereby suspended. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for the additional reference of business.
Additional reference of business, wait, wala pa. Padating pa lang, Senator, the Majority Leader. You know? Ginagawa, sandali lang. You will have to bear with us because we have locked down or semi-locked down the Senate. So there are only two people in the Secretariat outside of what is in front of you here. And then we encourage all the other offices of the Senate, senators' offices to be on lockdown also. So that there will be a full-blown disinfection and
Yes, Mr. President.
sanitation. Ano, padating na. Kapapay lang. So, can you take up something else, Senator Subiri? Is there anything else that you would like?
We have the continuation, Mr. President, of the interpellations on Senate Bill number 1840. Mr. President, I move that if
While
Senator
waiting for the
Pimentel is
additional
ready,
reference. Oh,
I would just like to check, Mr. President, if our dear colleague Senator Pimentel is online. I do not see him, Mr. President, unfortunately. Maybe we can start also on the second one. This is the Philippine Boxing and Combat Sports Commission. I believe Senator Kiko would like to also interpolate tomorrow pa daw, Mr. President. So maybe we can ask for a 1 minute suspension, Mr. President, so that you
all
can
right.
also
We'll
use the...
wait. Sige, we'll just wait for the additional reference to business. They're fast breaking it already, but you'll have to bear with us. There are only two people here in the second,
Yes,
the
thank you,
entire
Mr.
Senate
President.
building.
Because there's Senator Grace Poe wishes to sponsor some of her measures. So
yeah, okay,
We'll
we'll
need that
we'll do that. We will have enough time. Perhaps a 3 minute or 5 minute suspension. Any objection? Hearing none, session suspended for a few minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe, Mr. President, Senator Villar is ready to give the amendments of the resolution. So with the permission of the body, I move to resume consideration of the resolution PS number
676. 676.
676.
684. 684.
Then, 676 na ho ang tawag doon because
Okay.
incorporate natin yung 684 to 676. All
Okay.
right. Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration is on order.
May we recognize Senator Villar for the
Senator Villar is recognized.
I just want to move that lines 8 to 19 be removed.
8 to 19. Be removed of what page?
Page 3.
Page 3. 8 to 19.
Yes.
All right. The three whereases. 1,
Yes.
2, 3. All right. Any objection? Chair hears none. So deleted.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I move to
Thank you.
approve and adopt
Teka.
Senate
Teka,
Resolution
yung Senator
number.
Lacson amendment. Wait.
Yes, together with the amendments of Senator Lacson and Senator Villar, may we recognize Senator Drilon, Mr. President?
Senator Dillon is recognized.
Mr. President, may I propose to amend the titles of the resolution because the way it is phrased, we are putting ourselves at the same level as the Department of Agriculture. May I propose that the title of the resolutions be worded as follows. Resolution urging the President to declare a state of national calamity due to the severe impact of the African swine fever and opposing the proposed reduction of the tariff rates and the increase in the MAV of the imported pork products. Then we address it directly to the President rather than trying to recommending the Department of Agriculture.
All right, but you spell out minimum access volume instead of MAB.
Yes,
Right.
of course.
All right, subject to style. Okay, what does the author say? Senator Pangilinan agrees. Any objection? Hearing none, the title is adopted.
Just one point.
Mr.
Senator
President,
Pangilinan, go ahead.
Yes, just to put it in context, the reason why it was the DA earlier was because it was a committee level motion. So, and I agree with the Senator Drilon that now that it's brought to plenary, we accept the amendment, Mr. President.
Mr. President, yes.
Yes, Senator Dillon.
Yes, the amendment to the title having been accepted and approved, may I propose that subject to style, the body of the resolutions be accordingly adjusted. I have not seen the resolutions myself, but it should conform to the title, meaning we directly address the resolution to the President rather than to the Department of Agriculture. So I move that the subject to style, the body of the resolution be amended to reflect the title. Sure.
All right, any objection? Hearing none. Adopted, subject to style. Majority Leader.
Hello, thank you, Mr. President. With that, moving forward, Mr. President, I move that we do the additional reference of business.
No,
Mr.
wait,
President.
adopt.
Oh, I thought the motion was to adopt, Mr. President. Your
No,
motion.
they adopt the amendment.
Oh, my apologies, Mr. President. I move to adopt the resolution. Magulo kasi staff ko, Mr. President.
Senator
Katabi
Drilon.
kong iPad.
Senator Dillon,
Magulo. Mr. President, I move to adopt resolution number 676. I so move.
Any objection? Hearing none. Yes, resolution 676, taking into consideration 684 is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President.
right.
Mr. President, moving forward, I move for the additional reference of business.
The Secretary will proceed with the additional reference of business.
Additional reference of business, bills on first reading. Senate number 2100, an act establishing a COVID-19 emergency cash grant to small-scale farmers and municipal fisherfolk living below the poverty line, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, introduced by Senator De Lima.
To the Committees on Agriculture and
Senate no-
Finance.
Senate number 2101, an act providing for the creation, organization, and operation of virtual banks, amending for this purpose Republic Act number 8791, otherwise known as the General Banking Law of 2000, introduced by Senator Marcos.
To the
Tapos na ba
Committees
si Manny
on
dun sa
Banks.
kanyang ano? Ha?
Committee on Banks, go ahead.
Senate number 2102, an act implementing a lifeline rate for internet services, amending for this purpose Section 17 of Republic Act number 7925, otherwise known as the Public Telecommunications Policy Act of the Philippines, introduced by Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committee on Public Services.
Senate number 2103, an act protecting internet consumers and promoting net neutrality in data transmissions and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Marcos.
Referred to Committees on Science and Technology and Public Services.
Senate number 2104, an act providing for the modernization and capability enhancement of the Philippine National Police, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Public Order, Ways and Means, and Finance.
Committee reports. Committee report number 204, submitted jointly by the Committees on Local Government and Electoral Reforms and People's Participation on House number 8664, introduced by Representative Garcia, entitled An Act Providing for the Reapportionment of the Province of Bataan into 3 legislative districts, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Tolentino.
Referred to the calendar for ordinary business. Hindi kailangan ng plebiscite nito.
Committee report number 205, prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Economic Affairs and Finance on Senate number 2105, with Senators Revilla Jr., Recto, and Marcos as authors thereof, entitled An Act Mandating the Secretaries of the Department of Finance, National Economic and Development Authority, and Department of Budget and Management, and the Governor of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to appear semi-annually before Congress to report on the status and direction of the fiscal and monetary policies of the state, recommending its approval with substitution of Senate numbers 432, 476, and 477, sponsor Senator Marcos.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 206, submitted by the Committees on Public Services on House number 7332, introduced by Representative Gatchalian et al., entitled An Act Renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Mindanao Islamic Telephone Company, Inc., presently known as Dito Telecommunity Corporation, under Republic Act number 8627, entitled An Act Granting the Mindanao Islamic Telephone Company, Inc., a franchise to construct, establish, install, maintain, and operate wire and/or wireless telecommunication systems in the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 207, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 7615, introduced by Representative Romualdo et al., entitled An Act Granting Instant Data Inc., a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain telecommunication systems throughout the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 208, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 8551, introduced by Representative Romualdo et al., entitled An Act Renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Trans-Pacific Broadband Group International, Inc., under Republic Act number 8657 to construct, establish, install, maintain, and operate communication systems for the reception and transmission of messages within the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 209, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 6255, introduced by Representative Abueg Zaldivar et al., entitled An Act Renewing for another 25 years franchise granted to Romeo Cabestrante Servando, presently known as Rolin Broadcasting Enterprises, Inc., under Republic Act number 8202, entitled An Act Granting Romeo Cabestrante Servando a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the province of Palawan, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 210, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 6918, introduced by Representatives Remulla and Alvarez, entitled An Act Renewing for another 25 years franchise granted to Blockbuster Broadcasting System, Inc., under Republic Act number 8726, entitled An Act Granting the Blockbuster Broadcasting System, Inc., a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 211, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 7487, introduced by Representative Aumentada et al., entitled An act renewing for another 25 years, franchise granted to Tagbilaran Broadcasting System, presently known as Tagbilaran Broadcasting System, Inc., under Republic Act number 8149, entitled An Act Granting the Tagbilaran Broadcasting System a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Visayas region and for other purposes, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 212, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, on House number 7488, introduced by Representative Romualdez et al., entitled An Act Granting the City Government of Davao a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio broadcasting stations in Davao City, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 213, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, and House number 7496, introduced by Representatives Garbin Jr. and Alvarez, entitled An Act Granting Servotron Industries, Inc., a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations throughout the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 214, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, and House number 7616, introduced by Representative Go, entitled An Act Renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to the University of the Philippines System under Republic Act number 8160 to construct, establish, maintain, and operate for educational and other related purposes radio and television broadcasting stations within the University of the Philippines and in other areas within the scope of its operations, recommending its approval with amendments, taking into consideration Senate number 1462, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 215, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, on House number 7618, introduced by Representative Vidal Puerte et al., entitled An Act Granting Christian Music Power, Inc., a franchise to construct, establish, operate, and maintain radio broadcasting stations in the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 216, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, on House number 8552, introduced by Representative Garbin et al., entitled An Act Granting Allied Broadcasting Center, Incorporated, a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
The calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 217, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, on House number 8553, introduced by Representative Acosta et al., entitled An Act Granting Palawan Broadcasting Corporation a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 218, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, and House number 8554, introduced by Representative Barbers et al., entitled An Act Granting St. Jude Tadeus Institute of Technology, Inc., a franchise to construct, operate, and maintain radio and television stations in the province of Surigao del Norte and other areas in the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 219, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, and House number 8555, introduced by Representative Escudero et al., entitled An Act Granting Good News Sorsogon Foundation, Inc., a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Bicol region, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 220, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, and House number 8556, introduced by Representative Garbin et al., entitled An Act Renewing for another 25 years, franchise granted to Baycoms Broadcasting Corporation under Republic Act number 8718, entitled An Act Granting the Baycoms Broadcasting Corporation a franchise to construct, install, establish, and operate and maintain radio and television stations in the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 221, submitted by the Committee on Public Services, and House number 8860, introduced by Representative Zubir et al., entitled An Act Granting Highland Broadcasting Network Corporation a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in Mindanao, recommending its approval with amendments, taking into consideration Senate number 2059, sponsor Senator Poe.
To the calendar for ordinary business. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, to not take up a sponsorship of certain measures, with the permission of the body, Mr. President, I sought also the permission of the Minority Floor Leader and our colleagues. We've done this in the past, particularly on franchise bills, that we will call one particular set of franchise bills, for example, on the broadcast franchise bills, as the good sponsor would like to make an omnibus sponsorship for them, as well as another I'll call as well for another sponsorship for the bills pertaining to telecommunications. So, with the permission of the body, Mr. President, first of all, I'd like to move to transfer all these measures from the calendar of ordinary business to special order. Mr. President,
Any objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, first to be taken up will be the telecommunications measures. So I move to transfer from the calendar of ordinary business House Bill number 73332, House Bill number 7615, and House Bill number 8551. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, so considerations in order.
Mr. President, I move to consider House Bill number 7332, House Bill number 7615, and House Bill number 8551. And I so move and ask Secretary to read the title of these three measures.
The Secretary will read the short titles of the measures.
House Bill number 7332, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Mindanao Islamic Telephone Company Inc., presently known as Dito Telecommunity Corporation. House Bill number 7615, an act granting Instant Data Inc. a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain telecommunication systems throughout the Philippines. House Bill number 8551, an act renewing for another 25 years franchise granted to Trans-Pacific Broadband Group International Inc.
The Majority
Mr.
Leader.
President, may we recognize our distinguished sponsor of the Public Services Committee, Senator Grace Poe, to sponsor these three measures.
Senator Grace Poe is recognized to sponsor the measures. Wait,
Thank you.
yeah, go
Good
ahead.
evening. Almost good evening, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. As chairperson of the Senate Committee on Public Services, it is my privilege to sponsor 3 telecommunications companies. We are sponsoring these 3 telcos to bridge the digital divide by making telecommunications services available, accessible, and affordable to more Filipinos. With the introduction of a new player and the renewal of 2 existing franchises, we hope to encourage competition, drive companies to better service, and meet end user expectations. Here are the telcos up for deliberations. House Bill number 7615 under the committee report that was mentioned, seeks to grant the franchise of Instant Data Incorporated. Instant Data aims to deliver communications technology through internet infrastructure and future-proof IP voice video. House Bill number 8851 seeks to renew the franchise of Trans-Pacific Broadband Group International, TGBI. TGBI is a PSE licensed telecommunications operator with PEZA in the Clark Special Economic Zone. They also have monitoring and operations center in Mandaluyong and a training facility in Dasmariñas, Cavite. More importantly, TGBI's network development plan focuses on marginalized schools and communities. And lastly, we have House Bill number 7332, which seeks to renew the franchise of Dito Telecommunity Corporation. Dito, formerly Misdatel, was selected as the new major player in the Philippine telecommunications market. It was given a 5-year network rollout to realize its commitment to provide at least 55 Mbps of mobile data connectivity to at least 84% of the country's population. Last March 8th, Dito was able to launch commercially in various areas in Visayas and Mindanao with good connection reports, although it could improve its accessibility in order to serve the market it targets. We are hopeful that the entrance of Dito in the telecommunications market would spur the competition for more affordable and better internet and mobile services available to more Filipinos. Nevertheless, we also recognize that the grant of franchise is just the tip of the iceberg, and we need to pursue several reforms, like the long overdue amendment to Republic Act number 7925 or the Telecommunications Policy Act, and the passage of the Better Internet Act and an Open Access in Data Transmission Act. Above all these, Mr. President, we made sure to standardize the contents of all franchises, regardless of popularity and extent of coverage. In view of our mandate and responsibility to issue franchises, we scrutinize and carefully study each of them. In fact, in our effort to continuously improve it, we introduced a new amendment on the dispersal of ownership to all franchises, except the non-stock, non-profit corporations. We changed the offering requirements from 30% of common stocks to 30% of outstanding capital stocks following the legal precedent in Roy versus Arbosa, where the court adopted that Filipino ownership must be applied to both the total number of outstanding shares of stock entitled to vote and the total number of outstanding shares of stock, whether or not entitled to vote. We have likewise improved the language of the provision mandating the franchise applicants to create employment opportunities by strengthening the number of job order, contractual, and casual employees, as well as independent contractor, should not exceed 40%. Moreover, the applicants shall include as part of their annual report their efforts to regularize employees and the certification from the Department of Labor that they have complied with the employment requirements of their franchises. With regard to their performance for the past year, we sought the assistance of government agencies like the Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Telecommunications Commissions, and the Bureau of Internal Revenue to ensure that the applicants have complied with the duties and deliverables attached as conditions for the enjoyment of franchises. As I previously said, servisyo muna bago prangkisa. Similarly, we accord premium to the referral of the House of Representatives to this chamber. Mr. President, if passed into law, we will not only be making way for a better and more expansive information dissemination and telecommunication service in the Philippines, but we will also be providing our countrymen with much needed jobs, especially as we recuperate from this pandemic. I thank my colleagues for your preliminary support for these measures and for signing the committee reports in a very timely manner. I hope that we can deliberate these with the public in mind. Salamat po.
Right, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we move to suspend consideration of these measures to allow our colleagues to study it further.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Consideration of the measures suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Moving towards the broadcast measures, I move that we transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to special order House Bill number 6255, House Bill number 6918, House Bill number 7487, House Bill number 7488, House Bill number 7496, House Bill number 7616, House Bill number 7618, House Bill number 8552, House Bill number 8553, House Bill number 8554, House Bill number 8555, House Bill number 8556, as well as House Bill number 8860. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. The enumerated House bills are hereby transferred.
Mr. President, I move to consider the enumerated franchise bills, Mr. President.
Secretary will read the title of the short titles of the enumerated House
Dick?
bills.
Sorry, I was being...
House Bill number 6255, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Romeo Cabestrante Servando, presently known as Rolin Broadcasting Enterprises, Inc. And House Bill number 6918, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Blockbuster Broadcasting System, Inc. House Bill number 7487, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Tagbilaran Broadcasting System, presently known as Tagbilaran Broadcasting System, Inc. House Bill number 7496, an act granting Servotron Industries, Inc. a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations throughout the Philippines. House Bill number 7616,
Yes.
An Act 7, no, 76. House Bill number 7616, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to the University of the Philippines System under Republic Act number 8160. House Bill number 7618, an act granting Christian Music Power Inc. a franchise to construct, establish, operate, and maintain radio broadcasting stations in the Philippines. House Bill number 8552, an act granting Allied Broadcasting Center Incorporated a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines. House Bill number 8553, an act granting Palawan Broadcasting Corporation a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines. House Bill number 8554, an act granting St. Jude Thaddeus Institute of Technology, Inc. a franchise to construct, operate, and maintain radio and television stations in the province of Surigao del Norte and other areas in the Philippines. House Bill number 8555, an act granting Good News Sorsogon Foundation, Inc. a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Bicol region. House Bill number 8556, an act renewing for another 25 years franchise granted to Baycoms Broadcasting Corporation under Republic Act number 8718. House Bill number 8860, an act granting Highland Broadcasting Network Corporation a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in Mindanao.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We now move that we recognize the sponsor of the measure, the chairman of the Public Services Committee, Senator Grace Poe, Mr. President.
Senator Grace Poe is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening again. And this won't take long because I know you were supposed to be here until 6 only. As chairperson of the Senate Committee on Public Services, again, it is my privilege to sponsor 13 broadcast franchise applications. For the broadcast, 11 broadcast applications. I'm sorry, Mr. President. 13 broadcast applications, 11 are up for renewal, and 2 are new applicants. The list includes an LGU and an SUC. For brevity, I will enumerate the House bills and provide a brief description of each. House Bill number 6255 seeks to renew the franchise of Roland Broadcasting Corporation, which is located in Palawan and has been serving the far-flung areas of Puerto Princesa, Rojas, and Nara. House Bill number 6918 seeks to renew the franchise of Blockbuster Broadcasting System Incorporated, or more popularly known as Wave 89.1. Blockbuster is a recipient of various franchise expo awards and is serving Metro Manila and its neighboring provinces. House Bill number 7487 seeks to renew the franchise of Tagbilaran Broadcasting System Incorporated. Tagbilaran Broadcasting operates in Calibo and Tacloban and has been broadcasting in the Visayas region. House Bill number 7488 seeks to grant the franchise of Davao City Radio Broadcasting Station. In light of the priority agenda of the Davao City government on disaster risk reduction, they plan to set up a community radio for emergency response and preparedness. The broadcast station will also be used to disseminate advocacy campaigns as well as the city's programs and projects. House Bill number 7496 seeks to renew the franchise of Servotron Industries Incorporated. Their previous franchise covers NCR not only, but in the effort to cover more unserved and underserved areas, they applied for a nationwide expansion of their broadcast services. House Bill number 7616, taking into consideration Senate Bill number 1462, seeks to renew the franchise of the University of the Philippines System. DZUP 1602 is the official radio station of the University of the Philippines, which airs in Mega Manila, Central Luzon, and Southern Tagalog. Its radio programs are the collaborative effort of the different colleges and units of the university. House Bill number 7618 seeks to renew the franchise of Christian Music Power Incorporated. which operates 3 FM stations across Visayas and Mindanao. They promote Christian pop rock, music, worship, and instills positive values, life skills, and strong family relationships using Bible teachings. House Bill number 8552 seeks to renew the franchise of Allied Broadcasting Center Incorporated, which was incorporated in 1976. Allied Broadcasting is one of the pioneers of provincial radio broadcasting in the country. It focuses on unserved and underserved areas like Sorsogon, Ormoc, Tacloban, Cotabato, and Negros Occidental. House Bill number 8553 seeks to renew the franchise of Palawan Broadcasting Corporation. At present, Palawan Broadcasting Corporation has radio stations in Taytay and Coron, Palawan, and in Tacbalogan, Samar. In its early days, the company operates specifically for urgent personal messages known as Panawagan. After being shut down during martial law, it continued its broadcast services in 1986, now incorporating news, education, and entertainment formats. House Bill number 8554 seeks to renew the franchise of St. Jude Tadeus Institute of Technology Incorporated, a private institution in Surigao City offering broadcast courses and the only school in the Caraga region offering AB broadcasting. The school operates its own radio and television station, and its broadcast services expand to General Santos City, Davao de Oro, and Agusan del Sur. House Bill number 8555 seeks to renew the franchise of Good News Sorsogon Foundation Incorporated, a radio broadcasting station based in Sorsogon City with inspirational and motivational format. The company also owns a bookstore and a printing press. House Bill number 8556 seeks to renew the franchise of Baycom's Broadcasting Corporation. Their stations are popularly known under the branding of Brigada News FM, with services expanding in Visayas and in Mindanao. And lastly, House Bill number 8660, taking into consideration Senate Bill number 2059, seeks to grant the franchise of Highland Broadcasting Network Corporation, which will provide broadcast services to our kababayans in northern Mindanao in unserved and underserved areas, specifically the agricultural towns. Mr. President, TV and radio has been part of our culture as Filipinos. It is where we source critical information on a range of issues and has been a medium for entertainment. But more importantly, it provides a crucial line of communication between and among communities. That is the reason why we welcome the grant or renewal of these franchises that will serve or has been serving the unserved and underserved areas of our country. Maraming salamat po.
All right.
Mr. President.
Senator Villanueva, yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is not to object on that particular franchise in northern Mindanao. In fact, I am fully supportive of it, Mr. President. But due to the lateness of the hour, may I just be allowed as one of the principal authors of DZUP, may I be allowed, Mr. President, to just insert for the record my sponsorship speech. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, to insert into the records. Why don't we just pass that franchise ng Mindanao?
I think the minority.
Are you objecting?
The minority floor leader is doing that thumbs down,
okay,
Mr. President.
okay. So
maybe
there is an objection.
for one more day or few hours,
Yeah,
Mr.
if there's
President.
an objection. We will not entertain. All right, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very stressed. I'm being harassed, Mr. President. Mr. President, to allow our colleagues to study the measure further, I move to, unless Senator Risa would like to,
Consideration.
suspend consideration of the measures, Mr.
All
President.
right. Thank you. Any objection? Hearing none, the enumerated House bills are hereby suspended consideration.
And for the record,
Majority Leader and the
Yes,
Minority Leader and our esteemed colleagues.
Mr.
I
President,
have
before you give the information, just a few housekeeping lang, Mr. President, if it's all
All
right.
right, go ahead.
Just really quick. Senator Recto, Mr. President, texted me and he wishes to insert into the records his explanation of the yes vote and adoption of the proposed Senate Resolution number 676. Am I correct, Senator Recto? With a thumbs up? Yes, he just texted me. However, the staff of Senator Bongo wishes to insert into the records his co-sponsorship speech on the 3 telecom franchises and the 13 broadcasting franchises. May I just request our colleagues, Mr. President, although that is for the record, but may I request our colleagues that instead of the staff texting me, Mr. President, it would be helpful that the senators themselves text me because then I know it's really from them.
Yeah, why
Mr.
don't you
President.
block their numbers, the staff?
Yes, Mr. President. Kasi hindi naman maganda yung mga staff ng senador ang nagsasabi na please insert to the records because it's best it comes from our colleagues, Mr. President.
All right, Minority Leader.
Mr. President, apart from what the good majority leader said, we are in session, and therefore the manifestations that they be co-author should be done personally by the requesting senator rather than sending it by text messages. If we were in a formal session, would the amendments, would this practice be allowed? Otherwise, if we do this, then the amendments can be by text. And everything else can be done through text messages or email. So we would suggest to our colleagues that, in cases of this nature, that at least they be present and request for the record that they be made co-authors or whatever.
All right, the manifestation is well taken. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Now,
I don't mind, Mr. President, if it's at least coming from our colleagues, I absolutely don't mind. But at least it's a direct message from our colleagues, Mr.
All right,
President.
Senator Gordon and then Senator
Isa.
Ontiveros. By the way, just a reminder, it's already 6:15. Senator Gordon, go ahead.
Yes, I'll be brief, Mr. President. In as much as this is the season for being co-authors, Mr. President, I would like to ask my good friend Grace Poe, Senator Grace Poe, if I may be co-authors of all the resolutions for the franchises, especially for UP, Your Honor.
The term would be co-sponsors. Yes, Senator Grace Poe, to make them co-sponsors because these are House bills, so we cannot be co-authors.
Right. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Co-sponsors. All right. Yeah, Senator Ontiveros.
Thank you, Mr. President. I promise I'm also mindful of the time, so this will be a very brief manifestation of appreciation. Nabasa ko po yung tweet ng ibang Senate media tungkol sa mensahe ng Senate President that we will remain in semi-lockdown, health protocols will be stricter, and the Senate President's text ended with, "Of course, nandun ako." Sessions are not official if there is no senator in the Senate physically present. So, Mr. President, I would just like to express my deep appreciation to the Senate President that at the risk of his own health, and especially on this day that DOH reports 5,404 new cases today, a new record high for 2021, still the Senate President, by his presence, again, as I said, at the risk of his own health, enables us, the majority of us who are working online, to remain healthy, to feel safe, while ensuring that our Senate remains official and relevant and responsive to the times. Maraming salamat po,
All right.
Mr. President. Mabuhay kayo and stay healthy. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Senator. Thank you, Senator Ontiveros. That leads me to the message, Majority Leader and Minority Leader and our esteemed colleagues. We have just been given the bad news that the first team of the Bills and Index were under quarantine because there were one or two of them that were involved in that positive COVID positive results. So that the first team was on quarantine since last week. The second team started today. But one of the members came in this morning not feeling well, and she did not realize that she knew that her husband, his husband, sorry, his wife, was positive. So he attended the office this morning, and they found out that he was not feeling well. They brought him to the hospital. He tested COVID positive, and therefore the entire bills and index is now under quarantine. And so with that, we cannot do any amendments, any other bills to take up until the full sanitation is done, at least tomorrow. From tonight until tomorrow, there cannot be any sessions. We cannot do anything without the Bills and Index Office. Perhaps if we're just going to approve something, yes, but anything that has to be taken down cannot be done without the Bills and Index Office. So, Majority Leader, yes,
Mr.
Senator
President,
Gordon.
Senator Gordon, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I do not want to offer the Red Cross just like that. We're not in the business of profit, Mr. President. But I would like to make sure that we can help our people there. And the saliva test is quite quick. So long as it is not the majority floor leader saliva, it is very, very quick, Mr. President. So,
All right.
may I suggest,
All right,
Mr. President, that
the Senate Secretariat,
we can bring the Red Cross there, or wherever they are, and we can do a saliva test on them, Mr. President.
all right. The Senate Secretariat is listening, and they are nodding. They will be in touch with you, the Philippine Red Cross, and see what they can do. But right now, they started already the quarantine on all the others who were exposed to the particular employee this morning.
Yes,
All right? It's a good thing that Senator Villanueva, Senator Lapid, and I were not exposed at all, and even Senator Gatchalian, because we did not go out of the session hall from the time we arrived up to now. Anyway, just to play safe, we are declaring a lockdown tomorrow.
Senator Villar, Mr. President, would like to be recognized.
The Majority Leader will come up with a motion to resume, perhaps just to take up one or two bills that did not need any amendments, so that it can be taken up next week for another day of just for third reading. But the suggestion here is a almost complete lockdown of the Senate.
Yes, Mr. President, with the permission of the body, there are just a few franchise bills that don't need, I believe, that don't need amendments, like the broadcast franchise bills, because they've been waiting. Many of them have been waiting since December. Kawawa naman. Some of them are already lapsing. Maybe we can pass the measure on Wednesday, and then we can approve it on third reading next week, Mr. President. So,
besides Wednesday, there will be a session on Wednesday of the Commission on Appointments.
Yes,
Because
so
the
nandito
Commission on
na,
Appointments are
Yes,
different
opo.
set. They do not have any problem with the COVID issue, and they do not need the bills and index.
so since we're there, Mr. President, since we're there already on Wednesday, we can suspend till Wednesday, Mr. President.
Yes, we can do that. Senator Gordon, yes.
Senator Villar, Mr. President, was raising her hand, and then Senator Gordon after.
I just want to ask very briefly, why is the real majority floor leader laughing and laughing, Mr. President?
Senator Villar muna po, and then Senator Villar.
The minority leader and the majority leader have a private joke.
Mr. President, I have a serious motion. I move that we already approve, today without any amendment, the Northern Mindanao Radio Franchise Bill.
The presiding officer objects because we have never passed a bill that we sponsor on the same day.
Mr. President, we are on a pandemic and therefore there should be exceptions. And the Northern Mindanao.
Yes, but the rules dictate that we cannot because we already suspended the consideration.
Mr. President, what's so important about Northern Mindanao that the two gentlemen are talking about it?
Suspended na eh. Senator Villar, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just want to, Mr. President, to inquire what will happen to a resolution that will go to the President. Will it be delayed because we need to bring it to the President before March 24?
DepSec Billion is typing it himself tonight without the Billion Index. But he can only do one. He can only do one, so he cannot do the other bills. He will do it himself tonight so that it can be sent tomorrow. I will sign it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr.
There are two
President.
hearings tomorrow. You can do it virtually, but there will be no one from the Senate. All right? You can do it virtually. The two hearings that are going to be conducted tomorrow. Energy and public services. But you do it virtually. There will be no, the Senate will be a complete lockdown tomorrow. Okay? Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a bit of housekeeping, request from Senator Grace Poe. Pursuant to Rule 10, Section 18 of the Rules of the Senate, in the creation of a subcommittee, Mr. President, this is the Vice Chairperson of the subcommittee, Senator Juan Edgardo Sani Angara, be designated as the subcommittee chairperson on the issue of the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation PDIC Charter under Senate Bill number 1260 and 2089. I so move, Mr. President.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none. So adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, Mr. President, I move to suspend session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, March 17?
17.
March 17, 2021. I so move, Mr. President.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, the session is suspended until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of March 16, 2021.
Stay safe, everybody. Stay safe.
March 17. Wednesday, March 17, 2021.
Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe, please.